After grinding on overtime for days, your boy finally finished this freaking masterpiece. The Regressor Creates Everything. It's literally sitting at number 2 on Han Baumut's monthly charts right now. Anyway, let's just jump right into the good stuff. This guy casually crafts a freaking sword scabbard and literally sends shockwaves through every hunter in the testing room. Even Ryu Ha, who's like one of the absolute strongest hunters right now, wants to instantly rush up and snatch it. The whole scene has the judges literally doubting their own eyes, because the gear he just made is giving off this insanely terrifying pressure. Once the system appraises it, this fire attribute scabbard hits super rare tier. It can store and multiply magic power by like crazy amounts. Nobody gets how a random examinee could have such insane blacksmithing skills. But what they don't know is that in his past life, this dude was the absolute strongest blacksmith. Thanks to his crafting skills, he forged countless god-tier weapons for the heroes, and even fought alongside them to wipe out the 6 demon gods of destruction. But get this, even though they won, humanity still couldn't survive. Because among those 6 demon gods, there was this one freak known as the Sea of Destruction. Even after the bastard died, most of the earth still got swallowed up by the sea of death he created. Thinking about it, Lee Se-jun can't help but scoff at himself. I busted my ass to survive, and now I'm gonna end up dying in this freaking ocean. The surviving heroes drop dead one by one, and even the Tower of Heroes holding up the world just crumbles. This damn sea of ruins won't even vanish after the demon god got wiped out. Right then, some guy behind him speaks up. Are you seriously planning to play the tragic hero all by yourself out here? Yom Se-ha walks right up to Lee Se-jun's face. He scowls the second he sees how pathetic Lee Se-jun looks. Anyone watching would think you're carrying the whole freaking world on your back. The Mad Hound. Yom Se-ha. Hearing that, Louis Vallon turns and throws out a super toxic jab. Is the guy who was just playing dead really trying to act like a hero now? The fierce hound, Louis Vallon. Meanwhile, Amiya clutches their head and whines. God, didn't I totally call this? The boss is just trying to soak up all the glory after grabbing command of the Legion. The Ice Hound, Amiya. After a moment of silence, totally ignoring their endless trash talk, Lee Se-jun shoots back coldly. Shut the hell up. You guys would have been pushing up daisies ages ago if it weren't for the gear I made you. The last blacksmith, Lee Se-jun. The second he says that, Yom Se-ha snaps. The hell did you just say? Over on the side, Louis Vallon scoffs. Man, this dude has a seriously filthy mouth. Amiya doesn't miss the chance to chime in. Boss, that was kinda uncalled for, you know. Right after that, he spits out a curse that makes the whole vibe feel suffocatingly heavy. Shut your damn mouths. If you brats don't want to use them, give all my freaking gear back. In that moment, Lee Se-jun only has one thought stuck in his head. The 3 people standing in front of me right now are the Three Hounds. They don't give a crap about humanity's side, and they sure as hell don't belong to those bastard demons either. They only do whatever they want, always putting themselves first. They're the kind of scum who stay out of the fight just to profit. Even though they're the most selfish bastards ever, they've somehow survived until the very end. And ironically, they ended up being the ones doing the most work. Thinking about this, Lee Se-jun vaguely wonders, if they had actually stepped up sooner, would things have turned out better? Once again, the sun at the edge of the sea hits his eyes. Lee Se-jun just casually drops to the ground and glances back. Any of you still holding up? Hearing that, Yom Se-ha grabs his stomach and collapses. He lets out a dry, raspy voice. I'm at my limit. My insides are completely wrecked. Louis Vallon stares up into nothingness and slowly speaks up. Not doing much better over here. Pretty sure I got hit with a curse, because I'm bleeding out like crazy and it won't freaking stop. Over here, Amiya just won't stop whining. My heart literally got pierced. I'm totally a goner too. Seeing this, Lee Se-jun lets out a helpless sigh. See, you guys should have pitched in from the very freaking start. Even while they're literally dying, he still coldly trashes them instead of just letting them wallow in their selfish crap. You 3 miserable bastard dogs. Suddenly, a huge thud grabs Lee Se-jun's attention. He just sees Yom Se-ha, Louis, and Amiya totally slumped over. Facing that scene, he calmly stands up, sighing under his breath. Still being a massive pain in my ass, right up to the very end. Right after, Lee Se-jun steps closer to them and gently grips his hammer. You just see Lee Se-jun lift the object into the air, his eyes glued to the scrap metal below. A solid minute later, he carefully drives the blades into the ground next to Amiya's corpse. Now Lee Se-jun's voice is hoarse with anger. Try treating your gear with some damn respect. How the hell is anyone supposed to use it when it's trashed like this? He thinks to himself, well, at least this junk works as a tombstone for them. Once he's done, Lee Se-jun stares up at the endless sky, standing dead silent amidst the howling sea breeze, bitterly mocking himself. So, is it my turn now? Lee Se-jun slowly raises his blood-stained, cracked hand, his gaze chillingly calm. Guess this is the last time I'll be doing this. Without missing a beat, he smacks the center of his chest hard. The space slightly trembles, and glowing text floats right in front of Lee Se-jun as a robotic voice echoes in his head. Initiating connection, extraction from target, Lee Se-jun. Connection level with the creator, Lee Se-jun, has hit negative tier. A crystal block just straight up materializes in his hand. A pale blue light glows around the invisible ore, as the cold system explains, unique skill. Linked blacksmith. Able to extract special ore from a linked target. The ore's effect depends entirely on the relationship and potential of the subject. Lee Se-jun stares intensely at the crystal block, a thought popping into his head. But seriously, if I use it on myself, the crap it pops out is even worse than a basic chunk of iron ore. Colorless ore. A linked ore extracted from Lee Se-jun. It's totally, painfully empty. Man, if only I could have awakened this power a little freaking sooner. He looks at the dull ore in his hand, digging his nails in deep, his whisper sounding like a desperate plea to the void. If there's really nothing inside this thing, then just swallow up the crushing regret that's eating me alive. Right then, Lee Se-jun suddenly hoists his hammer high into the air as a massive rumble echoes from afar. He looks up at the violently churning Black Sea. Is this noise coming from the Dead Sea, or is it just the same waves I've been hearing this whole time? But there's one thing I know for damn sure. Whenever this sound rings in my ears, in that split second, Lee Se-jun violently smashes his hammer down onto the object. A crazy thought sparks in his mind. A masterpiece totally beyond imagination is about to be born. At the very last second, the hammer strikes down, and a massive pillar of light suddenly shoots straight up into the sky. He holds the hammer high, his voice dropping with fierce intensity. Even at the very freaking end, it still doesn't have any special abilities. After saying that, Lee Se-jun can't help but mock himself. And here I actually thought something good was going to show up, even if it's my own freaking link stone. Staring at the dull chunk of metal in his hands, he muttered to himself, "This thing is still boring as hell. Screw it, I'm ending this life with my own two hands." Right then, Louis Valen Se-jun's face totally froze up. His eyes rolled back, and he just burst out laughing. His messed up laughter echoed across the Dead Sea, totally unhinged, yet totally tragic. I'm a literal psycho. To think the only thing I'm doing right up to the bitter end is swinging this damn forging hammer. In that split second, Louis Valen Se-jun zoned out, totally lost in his head. And when I tossed that last sword, it hit me. That weird wave sound I kept hearing ever since my mana awakened. I spent all this time wondering what the heck that noise even was. Turns out, it was the Sea of Ruin closing in on me. He shut his eyes, the regret hitting him like a ton of bricks as his lips trembled. My bad. Man, if only I'd figured that out a little sooner. Or I should have just dragged those 3 mutts onto my side from the start. Louis Valen Se-jun shook his head. Nah. If I had just bothered to forge for other people a little earlier, maybe all this crap would have turned out completely different. Suddenly, the space around him warped like crazy, and a massive projection of an ancient artifact popped up. A system voice blasted in his ears. The artifact's spiritual form has manifested, activating the primal regression imagery skill. Right in the middle of that blinding light, some random, deadpan voice snapped, "Examinee." He jolted awake, gasping for air and totally freaking out. What the? I'm not dead? Right in front of him, Assistant Han was giving him the weirdest look. Yo, Examinee Louis Valen Se-jun. What the heck are you doing over there? Louis Valen Se-jun flinched. Examinee? Man, it's been 31 years since anyone called me that. Then the guy just yelled at him. How the hell are you spacing out in the middle of an entrance exam? His eyes went wide. Wait, what? Louis Valen Se-jun looked around wildly. An entrance exam? If this is 31 years ago, is this freaking Babel? Is my life flashing before my eyes right before I kicked the bucket? Then, it hit him, and his eyes lit up in total shock as he remembered his final moments. Hold up, that imagery projection I saw right before I died. The air around Louis Valen Se-jun felt dead cold as he started hyperventilating. A regression to the starting point? Did that actually happen because of that weapon I made out of my link stone? Assistant Han snapped, totally serious now. This is your final warning, kid. Examinee Louis Valen Se-jun, he barked. If you don't get your act together right now, I'm kicking you out of here. Hearing that, Louis Valen Se-jun just nodded like it was muscle memory. Yeah, got it. Louis Valen Se-jun locked eyes with the hammer below him. Regression. So that's what this is. He flexed his hand in the air, gripping an invisible handle. If I just realized my powers and started swinging this hammer way earlier, could I have flipped the whole script? Then he shook his head like crazy. Nah, screw that. That's not even the point right now. He caught his breath, his heartbeat chilling out. It literally felt like he was reborn in that one moment of clarity. He stared hard at his palms. There's only one freaking thing that actually matters right now, and I'm gonna pull it off. A cocky smirk spread across his face as he stood dead straight in the middle of the room. His eyes were burning like a forge that just caught fire, and a fierce thought echoed in his head. I'm gonna protect everything this time. That smirk grew even wider as he hiked himself up. In this life, I'm crushing this Babel exam. He swung the hammer up with zero effort, a wild spark in his eyes. And meeting those three mutts, that's just step one. Suddenly, a little flame flared up, making Kim In-on jump. The dude leaned in toward Louis Se-jun's forge, looking completely mind-blown. Se-jun was going absolute goblin mode, smashing the hell out of that piece of metal. Kim In-on rushed over, his eyes totally glued to Se-jun's hands. Holy crap, this is insane, he thought. It looked slow, but the rhythm was dead on, ringing out so pure and clear. He tracked every move of the metal in Se-jun's hands, absolutely floored. This is some god-tier forging right here. Kim In-on was literally frozen, staring at him like he was seeing a ghost. He gulped hard, his eyes locked on the chunk of iron that was taking shape. What kind of broken perfection is that? At the exact same time, Assistant Han's jaw dropped. Wait, did he actually just craft that? Seeing his reaction, Kim In-on just gave a cocky smirk. We got a literal genius applying here. If he just turns that in, it's an instant pass. But right at that second, bam. Louis Se-jun slammed his hammer into the metal. The massive crash made everyone in the room snap their heads around. And then, the metal just exploded into tiny, useless fragments. Assistant Han looked like his soul just left his body. Next to him, Kim In-on looked like his brain short-circuited. Meanwhile, Louis Se-jun just blinked at the burnt little nub left in his hand. He rolled the tiny scrap around. Not too bad. But is it seriously this tiny? He bit his lip, already running the math in his head. Link extraction takes your bond with a specific target and turns it into hard numbers, pulling out ores that literally shouldn't exist. Louis Se-jun glared at the scrap of metal, his vibe getting totally serious. The crappy part is my link level is so low. This thing is basically useless right now. He glanced at the floating stat window and let out a super salty laugh. Plus, compared to the other Babel freshmen, my stats are absolute trash. He threw his head back and let out a massive sigh. Major bummer. But hey, if nerf stats are the price I gotta pay for turning back time, that's a steal, he muttered to himself, forcing his brain to chill out. Yeah, no need to rush things. But the second he thought about what was coming, pure killer instinct flashed in his eyes. Asking for more right now is just me being greedy. I've got plenty of time to grind those Demon Realm scumbags into the dirt. Those freaking monsters weren't just a threat to humanity, they were gonna wipe out the whole damn planet. And the 6 great demon gods driving humanity to extinction? Yeah, that was their master plan all along. Louis Se-jun stared off into space, plotting. If I'm gonna stop those freaks, I can't play nice. I'll use whatever dirty tricks I have to. And I can't afford to trip up over any major events coming my way. So first things first, I gotta get my hands on some rune-based weapons or skills. He gave himself a solid nod. Step 1 of the master plan, getting into Babel. Check. Next up is, but right then, a flash of light totally hijacked his attention. His eyes bugged out, looking completely caught off guard. Then the system's dead serious voice dropped. User Louis Se-jun's link level has reached level 1. Skill link imprint has been unlocked. Fast forward 1 week. Babel Academy was looking totally epic bathed in the morning sun. But meanwhile, lost in some random hallway inside, Louis Se-jun let out a massively frustrated groan. Aw, hell no. I'm freaking lost again. This is the right spot, isn't it? He scoped out the massive hallway and stopped dead at a familiar sign. Bingo. The second he stepped inside, Lee Se-jun played it cool and mumbled, "Morning." Out of nowhere, someone totally cut off Cadet Lee Se-jun. He was confused for a sec, then just stood there, completely dumbfounded. Michael Baumut was slowly tapping the desk, dripping with sarcasm. "You look pretty freaking chill, huh?" Michael raised an eyebrow, side-eyeing the packed waiting room. "Are you blind? Can't you see everyone's literally waiting on you?" Michael Baumut, the vice principal of the BIPA department. Hearing that, Kim In-on couldn't hold back. "Vice principal, we've literally still got 10 minutes until the makeup exam even starts." But the dude instantly cut him off. "It's not about time, it's about his totally trash attitude." Michael's voice dropped low. "I'm gonna have to write him up for this." Standing there, Lee Se-jun felt super awkward and just let out a heavy sigh in his head. Wait, so the refining department is already a total mess, and now he's beefing with the higher-ups too? Lee Se-jun shifted his gaze over to Kim In-on. Now I totally get why he recommended another cadet, but the second he looked around again, Han was glaring straight at him, looking pissed off and not even trying to hide it. The guy locked eyes with Lee Se-jun and gave him this super judgy up and down look. Seeing that, Lee Se-jun just froze up for a second, his arms going totally limp. After hesitating for a beat, Lee Se-jun slowly forced out, "Nice to meet you." Dealing with Han Balmut's seriously stuck-up vibe, he managed a super awkward fake smile. "What the hell is this brat's problem? Man, it's been forever since someone treated me like absolute garbage. So lame. Seriously, I can't even." Right at that exact second, a voice cut through the room, making everyone snap to attention. "Is the whole squad here yet?" Right after that, a silhouette stepped right into the blinding sunlight. Lee Se-jun and Han instantly whipped around at the exact same time. Over on the side, Michael let out a heavy breath. "We were literally just wondering when you'd show up, Principal." At the exact same moment, Lee Se-jun's eyes basically bugged out of his head when he saw who it was. "Wait, is that?" Ryu Ha immediately slumped into a chair, locking eyes straight with Lee Se-jun. She glared at him with dead cold eyes, dropping her voice crazy low. "My bad for being late." Ryu Ha, the principal of the Babel department. The second he realized it was her, Lee Se-jun started totally freaking out internally. Why the hell is this crazy lady here? The moment Lee Se-jun laid eyes on Ryu Ha, he just totally froze, his gaze dropping like he was zoning out into some distant flashback. I've heard rumors floating around that she used to work over at Babel. Thinking about it, his brain was just spiraling. It's wild. I never in a million years thought she'd actually end up in the principal's chair. S-rank hero, the total badass known as the Weapon Devourer, Ryu Ha. She's this superhuman with a crazy unique skill that lets her level up her stats just by eating different weapons. Back before I literally turned back the clock, she was basically just a super regular customer who hung out at my shop all the time. But then, way later, she showed up looking like absolute trash. Her voice was super soft, her eyes crinkling up like she was smiling. But deep down, you could totally see this weird, heavy guilt. "I seriously regret accidentally eating your weapon." Meanwhile, Lee Se-jun was just standing there, literally paralyzed. He straight up ignored her. The whole room just went dead silent. She kept her head down. Over here, Lee Se-jun was looking absolutely furious, grinding his teeth so hard his whole body was physically shaking. In the end, all he could do was drop his head, feeling totally helpless. Snapping back to reality, a short, sharp shout rang out, ripping him right out of his thoughts. "Lee Se-jun!" Lee Se-jun jolted awake and quickly spat out, "Yes, sir." Kim In-on's voice was super steady as he scanned the room, sizing up every single cadet. "I'm going to break down the rules for this exam right now. Everyone, focus up." He locked in, emphasizing every single word. "You guys have exactly 90 minutes to knock out this test." Kim In-on paused for a beat, then went on. "In those 90 minutes, the two of you need to forge a piece of gear that perfectly synergizes with the sword from the last exam." Kim In-on suddenly shut up for a few seconds, letting this super heavy, awkward silence fill the room. When he finally spoke, his tone was ice cold, every word hitting like a straight-up command. "You are only allowed to use alchemical forging to craft this." Kim In-on gave a slight nod toward the racks of crazy sparkly ores. "As for the materials," he dropped his voice, "you're completely free to pick whatever ore you want from this stash." Kim In-on's tone got super serious, respectfully side-eyeing the two judges. "The final gear will be graded personally by Principal Ryu Ha and Vice Principal Balmut, so you better sweat blood and make something you're actually proud of." Right after that, he chopped his hand down super hard, his voice booming like a starting gun. "All right." Standing right up in Lee Se-jun and Han's faces, Kim In-on literally shouted, "The exam officially starts now." A minute later, Lee Se-jun was quietly muttering under his breath, "Wait, we can seriously only use alchemical forging?" Lee Se-jun bit his lip for a sec, his eyes glued to the massive pile of materials. "I gotta force a resonance using pure magic, or else the elemental energy is totally gonna blow up in my face." Seeing that, Han let out this super arrogant scoff. "You seriously think staring at a bunch of rocks is gonna magically buff your mana?" Lee Se-jun slowly lifted his head, his eyes going totally dead. "Am I hearing things right now?" Lee Se-jun played dumb and asked, "Are you literally trying to trash talk me right now?" The guy just smirked again. Do you see anyone else standing around here? Genius." Just then, Kim In-on's icy voice cut through. "Han Balmut," he yelled, laying down the law. "Keep your mouth shut unless it's actually about the exam." Hearing that, the jerk gave a tiny bow. "My bad. I'll focus." Lee Se-jun was totally shook. Han Balmut? Wait, what the hell? Is this punk actually the examiner's son? Michael Balmut. Han Balmut. Figuring it out, a totally cynical smirk crept onto his face. No freaking wonder they look like exact clones. Lee Se-jun shot the guy an absolute death glare. "The more I think about it, the more bogus this whole setup feels. Seeing his reaction, Hans smugly thought to himself, looks like the loser finally figured it out, that I'm the golden boy of the vice principal. He let out a super arrogant sneer. He's just some filthy casual with zero background and literally the trashiest mana pool out of all the candidates. While I, born into the legendary Babel Alchemy family, am out here flexing magic power that rivals a second-year top dog. This whole match was completely rigged in my favor from the start. Over on the sidelines, Ryu Ha was stalking their every single move. A tiny, super faint smile played on her lips. Lapis, lazuli, and Hainan Jade. Both of these are insane materials that are just packed with massive mana reserves. On top of that, they're straight-up elemental ores completely loaded with water energy. Hearing that, Kim In-on chimed in with a deep, serious voice. Water mana totally clashes with fire. It makes forging them a total nightmare. Michael Baumut just smirked. That's ancient history. Modern alchemical forging is light years ahead of that old junk. But seeing his completely arrogant face, Kim In-on totally clapped back. Yeah, alchemical forging isn't locked down by where you are or what you've got, but the crafting time totally depends on the caster's skill and the ore they use. So, with today's rules, 30 minutes is all they need. Meanwhile, Michael just kept smiling, this super creepy, evil grin. He dropped his voice to a whisper. Han has the power to synthesize literally any kind of ore. Just half an hour ago the other day, Han was already spinning that crystal with his mana. Kim In-on couldn't help but feel totally thrown off. Pulling off a resonance synthesis in just 30 minutes, he literally got chills. Like, what the hell? If his skills are already at the level where he can finish a resonance synthesis in 30 minutes, he's way out of the league of the sophomores, let alone the freshmen. Kim In-on's gaze swept over him, suspicion totally brewing. Oh, so that's it. Squeezing the time limit to forge the magic stone, prepping a massive stash of materials, and even forcing an alchemy crafting method on top of it. They totally rigged the exam topic to give Han Baumut a massive advantage. The dude was already an absolute beast at alchemy crafting. Kim In-on locked eyes with him. Michael is as sneaky as a freaking viper. After a beat of silence, Se-jun let out a soft breath. This works. Ryu-ha gave him a curious look, honestly kind of blown away. It was the intense stares of the group glued right on him. Hydrate stones and crimson fire ores? Michael frowned a bit, totally feeling the wild, unstable vibes coming from the two chunks of ore. Those are the fire-type versions of Lapis and Hainan Jade, and their mana levels are just off the charts. He coldly dropped the comment. Who knows if he's actually got the skills? But his ego is definitely massive. Over here, Han instinctively rolled his eyes over to Louis Valen Se-jun. He squinted at Louis Valen Se-jun's pile of materials. Did this guy seriously pick ores that are total opposites to mine on purpose? Thinking about it, Han let out a smirk. What an absolute idiot. With your pathetic little bit of mana, don't even dream about controlling the crimson fire ore. He gave a slight smile, looking down. This is going to be way easier than I thought. Suddenly, Han's vibe totally shifted, his eyes darting back to Se-jun. System alert. The skill, Contract Imprint, has been activated. The system's voice rang out, dry and robotic. Magic light wrapped all around him. Contract Imprint. Harmony is now active. The Contract Imprint lets the user slot in contract stones to tap into their current gear slots. Left hand, right hand. Equipping the silver fire iron to his right arm, and right after that, a flame slowly drifted straight down. After a quick second of silence, his lips barely moved. Even though I've still got a seriously long way to go. But flexing absolute trash like this, he stopped his hammer right in mid-air, his eyes turning ice cold, is something I just cannot accept as a blacksmith. Seeing that go down, Assistant Han absolutely lost it, screaming, "Did you seriously just trash a weapon right in front of the professor? Do you think blacksmithing is some kind of freaking joke?" Louis Valen Se-jun just chilly called out, "Proctor." Under Kim In-on's totally dumbfounded stare, he casually dropped the request. "I want to redo for the exam." Seeing that, the assistant yelled again, "Hey, you." But the professor suddenly cut Assistant Han off. Kim In-on crossed his arms, dropping a short but absolute order. Bring him the rest of the materials. Assistant Han was super caught off guard, stammering. "Wait, what?" The professor just raised an eyebrow, shooting him a dead serious glare. "It's not like he actually broke any rules, right? Or do you want me to go get them myself?" Not daring to talk back, Assistant Han quickly replied, I'll bring the materials right away." Kim In-on walked up to the forge, looking straight into Louis Valen Se-jun's eyes. His voice was deep but packed with heavy pressure. "Young man." He gave a stern heads up. "Are you aware there's only 40 minutes left in the exam?" He just nodded. "Yeah." Kim In-on stared intensely at the shattered pieces. He asked, totally curious, "So, you really think smashing it was the right call?" Hearing that, Louis Se-jun's eyes quickly flicked over to the wrecked chunks of metal. Finally, he turned back to Kim In-on with an insanely stubborn look. There's no way I'm turning in something like that. Over on his side, the professor tilted his head a bit, a thoughtful glint in his eyes before he slowly spoke up. All right, give it your best shot. A long moment later, that fiery spark of pure determination lit up in Louis Se-jun's eyes once again. He took a deep breath, feeling out this young but totally frail body, hyping himself up through the stress. Pulling off a flawless forge with this body is going to be seriously brutal. Thinking about it, Louis Se-jun frowned hard. His mana, strength, and time were all bleeding out. So what's the ultimate play here? Suddenly, a crazy loud sizzling sound ripped through the forge. A bunch of test takers jumped and spun around. What the hell is that noise? Someone yelled in total panic. Is that psycho pumping mana straight into the fire stones? Somebody lunged forward a half-step, screaming, "Yo, what the hell are you doing? If those stones catch fire, they're literally gonna blow up. Hurry." Meanwhile, Louis Se-jun just kept his chill, holding out his hand to spark the flame. The whole room instantly went dead silent when a 5-colored flame flared up like crazy without blowing up. Someone gasped, "Huh? No freaking way. This absolute madman." Right at that exact second, an invisible surge of mana violently slammed right into him. Seeing this terrifying scene, a few people completely panicked and screamed, "Fire! Grab the fire extinguishers! Hurry the hell up!" Assistant Han begged, his voice totally shaking, "Professor, please tell him to stop." Kim In-on just brushed him off. Just let him do his thing. Let alone the students, even you shouldn't be overreacting like this. Saying that, he gave a dead serious gesture. Look closely at the flow of the flames. The assistant couldn't help but feel totally confused. That's so weird. Right in front of Louis Se-jun was the 5-colored magic fire, a super high-temp flame totally amped up by the resonance of 5 different firestones. He smirked, his eyes glued to the fire. It demands insanely precise mana control, but it's a top-tier technique that you can pull off even with literally bare minimum mana. One student stuttered, totally mind-blown. "Wait, what? It didn't blow?" Another guy hesitated. "Hold up, could that be?" Someone else pointed at the iron ingot in the forge, screaming in shock. The color of the ingot already changed. Seeing that go down, it clicked for Kim In-on real quick. So that's his play. He resonated the firestones to boost the firepower and literally alter the ingot's properties. He shot Se-jun a deeply concerned look. This is going to massively cut down the forging time, but still, with only 30 minutes left, it's a super tight squeeze. Thinking about it, Kim In-on secretly concluded his forging phase earlier was stellar, but if that's all he's got, there's no way he finishes in time. Razor-sharp shards of metal just went flying into the air. Seeing that, he let out a cocky smirk, a rare gleam flashing in his eyes. Right after, Louis Se-jun clamped down on the object with his bare hands and slowly shoved it deep into the forge. You could see Louis Se-jun panting hard, struggling for every breath. A second later, he went back to violently slamming the hammer into the metal. Suddenly, his arm froze dead in midair. Realizing it, he gritted his teeth as he felt his mana completely zero out, muttering, "Damn it. I'm completely out of mana, and my shield is busted. Screw this weak-ass body. I gotta start training the second this exam is over." Even so, Se-jun's palm had started bleeding out of nowhere, with fresh blood slowly spreading across his whole hand. In that split second, he only had one thought. I literally cannot waste a single second. And right after that, Louis Se-jun went back to swinging his hammer like an absolute maniac. He made up his mind to push his body to the absolute limit. Right then, Kim In-on's voice boomed out, 10 minutes. 3 minutes. At the very last minute, the guy let out a massive roar that literally shook the whole room. 1 minute. The second he finished, Louis Se-jun immediately hoisted his sword up. Kim In-on screamed out again, "Stop." Hearing that, he opened his mouth a bit and let out a heavy breath. Under the table, Louis Se-jun was gripping his hands so freaking hard that fresh blood kept dripping down. Right at that moment, the system's glowing screen popped up. Complete. 5-color flame sword weapon is complete. You have acquired the C-rank flame artisan skill. The notifications just kept pinging in midair. The grade assessment for the 5-color flame sword is high. 5-color flame sword, high quality, mid-high tier. A curved sword etched with 5 flames. The flames compressed inside the blade react with magic power, throwing off these totally sick, vivid colors. This item reveals the legit potential of the blacksmith who forged it. The sword's color and properties might shift a bit depending on the vibe of the magic power channeled into it. Someone stammered out, "The weapon's grade is high." Louis Se-jun kept going. "You should check the detailed description in the info window, man. It's super obvious that's a passing grade." Assistant Han jumped up, totally hyped. basically screaming in the explosive atmosphere. He passed. Kim In-on immediately waved his hand to shut him up. "Keep it down, kid." He instantly dropped his voice. "My bad." The scene cut to a room, Professor Kim In-on's office. Inside, the dude was nervously glancing behind him. Lee Se-jun was sitting up straight at the desk. He asked with a totally deadpan look, "Is this sword actually worth submitting this time?" Kim In-on stayed quiet for a sec before answering. "For now, yeah." The old guy let out a heavy sigh. "You still don't look satisfied." Louis Valen Se-jun. "I'm gonna shoot straight with you." Kim In-on dropped his voice super low, acting like he was carrying the weight of the freaking world. "This place is never gonna meet your standards." He stressed every single word. "Honestly, you're better off just withdrawing your application." Kim In-on kept going with that heavy tone. Babel's rep might be crazy intimidating, but the metallurgy department hasn't cranked out a single major achievement in ages. Over here, Lee Se-jun just stayed quiet. He narrowed his eyes at the man. "Yeah, tell me something I don't know." Babel's metallurgy department is going to shut down in 8 years because their standards totally tanked. In the future, Bunsen Academy is going to become the #1 blacksmithing school in the freaking world. After hesitating a bit, Kim In-on awkwardly threw out a suggestion. "Maybe Bunsen will be the best spot for you moving forward." Hearing that, Louis Valen Se-jun instantly cut him off. "You've got it all wrong, Professor. The best place won't be Bunsen." He pointed right at himself with pure confidence. "It's going to be Babel, the exact place I'm about to enroll in." In that moment, Lee Se-jun boldly declared, "Professor, you're completely wrong." He stared dead into Kim In-on's eyes without blinking. "The best place isn't going to be Bunsen, but Babel, because that's where I'm heading." Hearing that, the guy visibly flinched, his eyes totally shaking. Kim In-on stared at Lee Se-jun, looking completely shocked and like he didn't buy a word of it. Kim In-on narrowed his eyes, giving him this sharp, sizing-up look, his voice slow and challenging. "If that's the case, you need to become the top student of the department first. Are you seriously confident about that?" He fired back without a second thought. "Hell yeah. At least on a student level, nobody's gonna beat me." The second he said that, In-on's face completely flipped. He demanded in a serious tone, "Do you even know how Babel picks the top freshmen for the department?" Catching the question, Lee Se-jun rattled off the info super fast like a freaking machine. "They pick a valedictorian candidate through a makeup exam between the top 2 students in the department. And out of those candidates, the actual top student is decided. That's what I know." Babel Academy loosely splits its students into 3 massive departments: the Egg of Combat Department, the Support Department, and the Basapa Tech Department. Inside each one, dozens of majors are totally tangled up together like roots. And becoming the valedictorian means you totally clutched the highest rating out of all those majors and got recognized by all of Babel as a top-tier genius. Snapping back to reality, Kim In-on was obviously stressed out. He clenched his arms so hard they were shaking. Kim In-on looked straight back at Louis Valen Se-jun, his voice dropping super low and genuine. "I'm gonna say it one more time, not as some professor, but as a senior blacksmith." He kept talking, sounding totally drained. "Even if you grab that top spot, it's pretty much hopeless to expect success as a blacksmith in this dump. Just go to Bunsen Academy." Kim In-on gave a little nod, like he'd already made up his mind for him. "That's the real path for you." Lee Se-jun looked at the man in front of him with some rare respect, thinking to himself, putting a junior's future over his own position. He's actually a decent dude. After a second of silence, he doubled down. "Like I just said, the environment doesn't matter." His eyes lit up, his voice ringing out full of hype. "Babel, the place I'm about to join is going to be the absolute best real soon." Kim In-on was low-key confused. The place he's at will become the best. Eventually, the corner of his mouth twitched up, showing he was actually amused. Kim In-on couldn't hold back a laugh and reached his hand out toward Louis Valen Se-jun. "That's way beyond just being cocky, but for some reason, I don't hate it." He held out his hand, looking at him with real sincerity. "I'm really looking forward to working with you." Seeing that, Lee Se-jun didn't hesitate for a second and grabbed Kim In-on's hand tight. He put some real grip into it, smirking. "Same here." Flashing text instantly popped up right in front of his face. A link with the target Kim In-on has been established. Creator link Louis Valen Se-jun, currently at level 1, is extracting a link from the target Kim In-on. Louis Valen Se-jun just gripped his wrist tight, and this object started floating right in the middle of his palm. A chunk of metal appeared, with fire smoldering inside it. Then the system dropped the description. "Fire-bearing iron link, high quality, mid-low tier. A type of metal that holds fire. It acts exactly like wood and can store flames inside." Louis Valen Se-jun's arm was completely swallowed by flames. Watching that go down, some guy ground his teeth. That punk. What kind of useless, cheap trick is he pulling? Meanwhile, he was just hyper-focused on activating the metal blocks. Right then, the iron ores started spinning around each other. Seeing that, Lee Se-jun smirked, his eyes blazing with actual sparks. At the same time, that other group kept staring him down. Over here, Michael Baumut slightly raised an eyebrow. Is he trying to trigger resonance by using the exact same attribute as the minerals? What a freaking idiot. The most basic rule is you gotta use pure magic power to make elemental ores resonate with each other. He silently made his call. If he keeps forcing it like that, sooner or later, those magic elements are gonna blow up out of control. Thinking that, Michael Baumut gave a nasty sneer. What a moron. He's totally about to cause a massive accident. And then, all of a sudden, Lee Se-jun whipped his hand forward. His arm was totally covered in these 6 scales, and the whole room went dead silent. Lee Se-jun just stood there, completely unfazed. Seeing that crazy flex, Kim In-on and Ryu Ha immediately bowed their heads. Meanwhile, Michael's eyes were bugging out of his head. What the hell is with this insane firepower? Right then, a sword materialized out of nowhere, and the second Lee Se-jun saw it, he barely muttered a word. The system's voice instantly buzzed in his ear. Iron fire, silver gear unequipped. Gear processing is totally complete. Congrats. You successfully crafted the flame-charging scabbard. Ryu Ha's eyes went wide at the insane sight, while Michael Baumut was so shocked he literally froze up, totally freaking out on the inside. No freaking way. Did he actually pull that off? The system screen flashed right away. Item: flame-charging scabbard. Flame-charging scabbard. Rarity: rare. Quality: low. It's a scabbard dripping with fire magic, capable of stacking and boosting fire attribute spiritual energy, letting you pop off a special fire-type skill. At the same time, cold sweat was dripping down Han's face. Wait, did he already finish the synthesis phase? What the hell is that speed? He stared blankly at his own hands, mentally screaming his lungs out. This is absolute bullshit. Those magic elements should have totally blown up in his face. Han was low-key losing his mind. Did I screw something up? Right at that moment, Michael Baumut snapped out of it. The geezer frantically yelled, "Hold up, stop right there. If you dare pump elemental energy into those magic stones." But the sphere in Han's hands was already shaking like crazy. Suddenly, his vision got completely blurred by the insane heat. Next second, boom, the orb violently exploded, sending shards flying everywhere with a massive bang that shook the entire room. Cut to later that afternoon at the refining department's exam hall. The place was an absolute mess, with crystal shards scattered all over the floor. On one side, Han was standing there with his face all scratched up. After an awkward silence, Kim In-on hesitantly spoke up. Normally, after going through a super thorough evaluation, he paused for a sec, clenching his jaw like he was trying to swallow his obvious frustration. One of you two would get nominated for the top spot in the department. Saying that, Kim In-on looked dead straight at Han. But things took a really unfortunate turn. Han just shrank back, clutching his bleeding arm. Kim's eyes locked onto Han as he went on. I really didn't expect the exam to end with someone basically rage quitting. At the same time, Michael gritted his teeth, trying so hard to sound chill even though he was pissed. Since a student got hurt during the exam, the best move right now is to just scrap the results and schedule a retake. Hearing the BS, Kim In-on whipped around. He wasn't having it at all. We have zero right to just throw out the results of a finished exam. Besides, wasn't that whole accident totally Han's own fault for being sloppy? Michael tilted his head, glaring daggers straight at Kim In-on. His voice was ice cold. Professor Kim, seems like you care way more about some stupid grades than your own students' safety. Huh. Kim just went quiet, but you could totally see the anger flashing in his eyes. Then Michael Baumut stood up, acting all cocky as he kept going. Let's put that aside for a sec. Michael slowly walked to the middle of the hall, staring Se-jun down like he was trying to rip his secrets wide open. The fastest resonance speed ever recorded in academia is 5 minutes. But then the old man cranked up the volume, practically screaming. Yet some newbie who just walked through the front doors manages to channel magic and hit instant resonance. Do you guys seriously think that's even remotely possible? The whole point of alchemy forging was to create a technique, to craft gear using nothing but magic when normal forging is off the table. So, the core of alchemy forging isn't that old-school method of dominating the ore with the blacksmith's actual life force. It's about tapping into the mineral core's roots and waking up its hidden potential. That's the true essence of alchemy forging. Right then, Se-jun was just thinking, literally what I just did is the proof of that. And it's the exact same answer the blacksmithing world is going to figure out soon enough after messing up a million times. It's a super basic method that's going to be the standard in a few years, so I have zero reason to hide it. But I definitely don't have the time to baby some stubborn old geezer who just yells and never listens. Finally, he shot back, his voice totally deadpan. I literally have no clue what the hell you're rambling about. Hearing that, Michael Baumut smirked. Just as I suspected, you used some dirty little cheats. He let out a cold, super toxic laugh. A nobody freshman with zero background crafting rare tier gear? Yeah, right. If you were gonna scam us, you should have at least made it somewhat believable. Kid. Se-jun scowled, his eyes darkening from the insult, but he kept his cool. What the hell are you even talking about? Right then, another voice cut straight through the tension. He's right. This whole thing makes zero sense. Michael Baumut bowed super low, but he was smirking like a total creep. I knew it. You definitely see right through this, principal. It's exactly as you say. This is just straight up ridiculous. We need to disqualify Louis Valen Se-jun for cheating right now and set up a retake. But instead of agreeing, she just casually blew right past him. Ryu Ha stopped right in front of Se-jun's sword. Kim In-on watched her, totally confused. As the principal carefully grabbed the sword, she let out a totally hyped whisper. This is freaking unreal. Drool was literally dripping from Ryu Ha's mouth before she suddenly pointed straight at Louis Valen Se-jun. Student Louis Valen Se-jun. Ryu Ha suddenly threw out a crazy request, her eyes sparkling like a kid who just found the ultimate loot. Can I take a bite out of this? No. Wait just one lick. Can I please just taste it once? The second she said that, Michael Baumut basically short-circuited. He looked completely dumbfounded, while Kim In-on just stared at her in pure shock. Just a lick. Suddenly, a loud rumble echoed from Ryu Ha's stomach. Hearing that, the whole squad practically froze on the spot. Later that evening, downtown, Louis Valen Se-jun was chilling as he walked out of the academy. Standing under the blood-red sunset, he was deep in thought. Yeah, that final tweaking phase was still pretty rough. The completion level isn't quite top tier yet. Thinking about it, Se-jun just brushed it off. Still, a smirk crept onto his face as the evening breeze messed with his hair. He looked smug as hell, not even trying to hide it. Seeing that Boomer Vice Principal Baumut literally shaking with rage, totally worth it. A random passerby gave Se-jun a super weirded out look and whispered to their friend, "Dude looks like a total psycho, smiling like that." The friend quickly rushed them along. "That guy's giving off weird vibes. Don't make eye contact. Just ignore him and keep walking." Back to Louis Valen Se-jun, he suddenly stopped dead in his tracks. Wait a sec, now that I think about it. Baumut, that name sounds super familiar, but I can't put my finger on where I've heard it before. Louis Valen Se-jun just started smacking his forehead like crazy, muttering non-stop, "Michael Baumut, Michael Baumut, Michael Baumut." Boom! Flashbacks from his past life just hit him out of nowhere. Louis hissed, his voice dripping with pure rage. Back in Babel, after busting my ass doing grunt work for that bastard, the cheap trash weapons I bought just straight up blew up in my face. Then he just lost it, screaming with total resentment. That's exactly why I got these messed up mana burns and ended up looking like total garbage. Damn it, if it wasn't for that punk. On the flip side, Lee Se-jun just gave Louis Valen this dead, ice-cold stare. Snapping back to reality, he stopped dead in his tracks as a crazy, terrifying thought crossed his mind. The name of the blacksmith who permanently crippled the Mad Hound, Louis Valen, was actually Michael Baumut. Wait, is Han Baumut actually that dude? Frowning, his gears started turning. His main goal this time around was to hustle up and win over the Three Hounds, but honestly, maybe he didn't even need the Mad Hound anymore. Louis Valen Se-jun smirked, his eyes going totally dark and scheming as a wild idea clicked in his head. Because if he just shut down Han Baumut's BS right now, Mad Hound Louis wouldn't ever go off the deep end. The scene instantly cut to the refining department's meeting room, where someone was absolutely losing their mind yelling, "Are you seriously gonna let this kid, Louis Valen Se-jun, be our department's top student?" A rep piped up, dragging out their words but throwing massive shade. Professors from the other departments started chiming in. "Are you actually serious about this?" The guy next to him hesitated before adding, "Look, even if that's your call, isn't this taking it way too far?" Ryu Ha just slowly slammed both hands on the table. Her eyes coldly scanned every single face in the room before she spoke, her voice low but echoing. "Does anyone here actually have the guts to object?" An older professor kind of shook his head, looking totally sketched out as he tried to play it safe. "Not exactly. Rather than objecting, it's more like." But then Michael rudely cut him off. "Think of it as some solid, friendly advice." He kept going, totally unfazed. "I mean, come on, Principal, you've barely even warmed up that seat of yours." Hearing that, Ryu Ha's vibe totally flipped, glaring at him with pure, unfiltered rage. Another guy jumped in. "Yeah, exactly. We're not blind, we admit the kid's gear is insane, but maybe we need to actually think this through a bit more." Kim In-on immediately clapped back, cutting them off. "You professors are only running your mouths because you haven't laid eyes on Louis Valen Se-jun's flame-storing scabbard yet. Sure, The crafting might look a bit janky right now, but if you look at how sick the mana flow is and how perfectly it syncs with the 5-color flame sword, one of the guys couldn't help but gasp. Okay, that's actually mind-blowing. But real talk, I'm still not sold on whether it actually works in a real fight. Right then, Ryuha stepped back up to the mic. This weapon is probably sitting at less than 60% of what Lee Se-jun is actually aiming for. And honestly, the fact that it's still incomplete just proves how cracked its potential really is. She made sure to put heavy emphasis on every single word. The whole room just froze as Ryuha kept going, dropping facts that hit like an absolute truck. If you guys watch our top student Lee Se-jun flex his skills at the upcoming showcase and still can't wrap your heads around my decision. She straight up dropped the mic, announcing, "Then I'll quit my job as principal on the spot." Cut to the massive plaza. Lu's voice blasted through the magic amps, echoing super solemnly like some ancient vow. 54 years ago, the heavens dropped the hero tower on us to force humanity to level up. The whole vibe plummeted as a massive illusion showed the sky straight up tearing apart. His voice got super dark. In response, hell unleashed the swamp of chaos, rotting every living thing it touched. So, while we were busy chasing shiny new power-ups, a massive, world-ending disaster hit us right in the face. Standing dead center in the grand hall, Louis was preaching like his life depended on it, sounding epic as hell. Babel was born right in the middle of all the chaotic madness. This is the biggest academy in human history, literally built right out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And up till now, Babel has pumped out a ridiculous amount of overpowered heroes. Right then, he proudly name-dropped. The prime example being the Emperor of Ascension, Sir Louis Vallon. And guess what? You guys are going to be next. Louis's voice got mad intense. Keep pushing forward. For every single one of you who managed to set foot inside this Babel Academy, his voice suddenly shot up, hyping everyone up like a hardcore battle cry. That is the ultimate badass mission of a hero. The guy dropping this epic speech was none other than the Emperor of Ascension himself, Louis Vallon. Lee Se-jun just chilled in the crowd, totally deadpan, eyeing Louis on the stage while his brain cooked up some sketchy plans. Seeing him up close like this, the guy actually looks pretty decent. Even though in reality, he's definitely not some innocent, sweet old boomer. The MC hyped up the crowd, stepping to the front and raising his mic. Next up, we're diving straight into the showcase for this year's top-tier rookies. Can the heavy hitters who took first place in their departments please step up to the stage? On cue, the squad of elite guys and girls strutted up to the stage, oozing ego. Lee Se-jun watched their cocky backs, his eyes turning cold as messy memories from his past life hit him again. Top of the department. Huh? Back in my past life, I used to wonder why these tryhards acted so damn arrogant just because they scored some good grades at an academy. Right on cue, the MC yelled, "All right, let's get this party started. Time for the skill showcase." He rolled his eyes, a totally forced smirk tugging at his lips. But seeing this crazy hype, yeah, I totally get why their egos are massive now. Meanwhile, the MC was hyping it up to the max. The absolute beast of a test dummy we're using for today's beatdown is none other than this masterpiece, ladies and gents. The second he finished, the Model 9 automaton stomped into view. The second it popped out, he was screaming into the mic, "Behold, a sick golem straight out of the Roy factory, the Model 9 automaton." This bad boy seriously packs the combat power of a solid rank C hero. Louis Se-jun's eyes instantly locked onto the Model 9 automaton, letting out a cocky little chuckle because things were finally getting interesting. So it's a hardcore combat spec automaton, huh? I don't see any shiny weapons on it, so it's probably just gonna throw hands using martial arts, right? The MC threw his hand toward the arena entrance. Kicking things off first is the absolute unit repping the combat department. His voice went total drama mode. Bringing the heat is the top-ranked beast from AGFF, J. Myers, AGFWest #1, Jack Myers. Right after that, Jay stepped up into the arena alongside the Model 9 automaton. Lee Se-jun squinted, checking out the dark-haired kid walking out. Wait, if that's Jay. Pretty sure that's the third son of the stuck-up Myers family. Word on the street is he's a total weirdo for obsessing over bare-handed martial arts, especially since he was born into a family that practically worshipped swordplay. Guess the rumors were actually legit. Right then, the MC screamed out, "All right, let's kick off this showdown right now." On the opposite side, the automaton's eyes sparked to life with a sick neon glow. The second the MC gave the signal, the thing dug its mechanical feet into the dirt and launched itself forward. This automaton just totally blitzed Jack Myers. It threw a massive punch right off the bat, but Jack just slickly spun out of the way. Meanwhile, that hunk of metal kept wildly throwing fists at him. A sec later, Jack leaped back down, his toes literally scraping the dirt. He tilted his head up and just stared the thing down. My turn to flex. After dropping that line, Jack Myers didn't even hesitate. He just charged straight at the automaton. He clenched his fist tight and slammed a brutal punch right into its chassis. The whole crowd of students was literally stunned silent. Over there, Jack was just going absolutely feral on the automaton. Lee Se-jun's eyes went wide, totally shook by that insane burst of speed. What the hell is this? I swear I remember him dying super early as an A rank in his mid-20s. Thinking back on it, he couldn't help but feel totally thrown off. With skills like this, the dude should have been Babel's once-in-a-decade genius. Lee Se-jun muttered in his head, completely baffled. So why the heck did he peak at A rank in my past life? Back to Jack, he just flashed this icy, arrogant smirk. Is that really all you got? Right at the buzzer, he swung his arm and absolutely ended that automaton. The robot's head literally popped off, flew into the air, and smashed into the ground. Jack pulled his fist back and stood there looking like a total boss as the dust clouds cleared. He let out a breath. Man, it's been a hot minute since I got to stretch my legs like this. The MC's voice was shaking a bit. Absolutely incredible. Then the guy literally started screaming out of pure hype. What an insanely sick and flawless performance. Cadet Jack just one-shotted an automaton with the power of a C-rank hero in a single breath. The MC turned back to Jack Myers, totally fangirling. Now that is the true level of Agartha's top student. Over on the sidelines, Lee Se-jun just frowned a little. He thought to himself, this guy really set the bar crazy high right out the gate. The next person up is going to be sweating bullets for sure. The announcer's voice echoed through the arena again. This time, the vibe totally shifted. It got super serious and heavy. Next up, we have the top student from the UR support department. Please welcome Cadet Erica Eno to the stage. He raised an eyebrow when this long, dark-haired chick walked out. So she was the UR valedictorian. Pressure. Like she'd ever give a damn about that. Erica is the eldest daughter of the Eno clan, literally one of the top 3 most overpowered families in Japan. She wasn't really a frontline conqueror, but she built her rep as an S-rank hero carrying a mythic tier weapon. But tragically, she ended up getting corrupted into a demon and got taken out by her own damn family. Right then, Lee Se-jun mentally crossed her off his list, since she's destined to turn into a freaking monster anyway. Making friends with her is a total waste of my time. But then, out of nowhere, Erica turned and locked eyes right with him. Lee Se-jun totally froze up, staring back at her, looking dumbfounded. He cluelessly watched her walk by, his brain totally short-circuiting. What the? Did she really just look at me? At the same time, the MC dropped a heavy announcement. The automaton for this round was the Armored Model 9, with defense stats totally beefed up like 1.5 times tougher than the last one. He let out a massive hype scream that literally shook the stadium. Let's see what kind of insane surprise Cadet Eno has in store for us. And then, plot twist, Erica just pulled out a literal crow. Her eyes suddenly flashed with this totally demonic glow, and she muttered a quick command. Attack. The second the word left her mouth, the crow shot straight out like a bullet. It bolted into the sky and started circling the automaton like crazy. Lee Se-jun was totally caught off guard. A freaking crow? Seriously. Right then, the automaton looked up tracking the bird, its robotic eyes flashing this creepy, glowing red. From the sidelines, he was locked in, studying the machine's every move. He analyzed it in his head. That thing just went into full-on turtle mode. It's going to be a massive pain to crack armor that thick, especially since it's literally built to tank hits. Back to Erica, her lips barely moved. Suddenly, the crow spread its wings wide, extending its legs to show off these wicked, razor-sharp talons. One of the bird's eyes lit up with a sick neon blue glow. Under the sunlight, it flared its wings out, and then suddenly dive-bombed the automaton at breakneck speed. Down below, it was absolute chaos, dust and dirt kicking up everywhere. Watching that hit, Lee Se-jun was practically mind-blown. Over by the impact zone, the automaton's chassis was already spiderweb with cracks, sparking crazy amounts of electricity. Since when was there a giant gaping hole in its body? In the next second, the heavy metal bot just completely collapsed into the dirt. Seeing that, Erica just casually flicked her finger, and the crow flew right back to her. The MC started losing his mind again. Unfreaking believable. Absolute insanity. With just one single strike, the armored automaton is down for the count. She just pierced straight through an opponent with C-rank toughness. The crowd went wild, screaming, Erica, you're a god. Back over to Lee Se-jun, he just forced a super awkward smile. Oh man. With the crowd hyped up like this, I get the feeling I'm going to get totally booed off stage if I just flex a weapon and call it a day. Right on cue, the MC yelled out. And finally, the top student of the Basipa Technology Department. Please welcome Cadet Lee Se-jun. The MC kept the hype train rolling. Next up, we are kicking off the showcase for both Tech's valedictorian, Cadet Lee Se-jun. Meanwhile, head supervisor number 1, Louis Vallon, was watching the whole thing go down on the monitors. He couldn't help but chuckle. The power levels of this year's freshmen are seriously off the charts. How long has it even been since we've seen a top student coming out of the refining department? Saying that, Louis actually felt kinda worried. Isn't the pressure gonna be way too brutal for that kid? Sitting next to him was supervisor number 2, Principal Ryu Ha. She just flat out deadpanned. There won't be any issues at all. The bleachers totally buzzed as Lee Se-jun stepped out into the spotlight, while the MC gave this cheeky grin. Is he gonna drop a performance that completely blows Jack and Erica's insane flexes out of the water? Someone in the crowd literally shrieked, "Oh my god, he's so hot." The MC suddenly looked super curious. Wait, is that a rare tier gear? That is crazy rare for the refining department. Some fangirl screamed, "Great freshman." At that exact moment, Lee Se-jun cleanly ripped his sword from its scabbard, whipped it aggressively to the side, and locked his eyes dead onto his target. In that split second, a massive holographic projection of the sword popped up right behind Lee Se-jun, showing off a crazy amount of specs and functions. A dude in the crowd spoke up, looking half impressed and half skeptical. Yeah, honestly, a freshman actually crafting a rare tier item is straight up magical. The guy next to him hesitated, but still, compared to the other departments, it feels kinda mid, doesn't it? Whispers started spreading as some cadets looked totally let down. A rare tier item, but it looks pretty basic. I mean, the other departments just put on way too much of a flashy show before him. The guy couldn't help but feel totally confused. I don't even know what the hell he's trying to show off in this presentation. I seriously want to know. Up in a corner of the stands, Michael Bauma just smirked, his eyes flashing with some sick ambition. Man, even the universe is totally backing me up right now. He glared right at Louis Vallon Se-jun, looking sketchy as hell. At this rate, that principal's seat at Bossipa is straight up mine. But completely unlike Michael, Ryuha's face was chill as a frozen lake. Back in the stands, the announcer was talking super fast to hype up the showcase. Model number 10, rocking the power of a D-rank hero. Suddenly, he just cut him off. Screw that. Louis Vallon Se-jun threw his head back, his eyes flashing like a freshly drawn blade. The whole plaza literally went dead silent. Swap it out for model number 8, and seriously, gear it up with some extra armor. The announcer practically dropped his script, totally freaking out and stuttering. Huh, what the heck is this kid even asking for? Model number 8 can literally tank hits from a B-rank hero sometimes, and he wants it to wear extra armor on top of that? He froze for a sec. About that. The announcer hesitated. It's kinda impossible to whip up that request right on the spot, man. In his head, he was screaming, "Are you trying to ruin this whole showcase, dude?" But right then, Kim Min-on chimed in. "I already took care of everything." Out of nowhere, this massive metal thing just dropped in right as he spoke. He looked up at the automaton, and this automaton was fully decked out in heavy armor. Seeing that, the announcer was totally shook. Wait, he had this prepped the whole time? He looked around nervously, his voice shaking. "If you're really that dead set on it." Right then, Louis Vallon Se-jun turned to look at Kim In-on. The older guy just stayed quiet, watching him with this super expectant look. From the VIP box, the announcer screamed, all hyped up, "Then go ahead and go totally wild with it." He forced a super awkward smile. "Honestly, I have no clue what the heck is going to happen in this match anymore." Right after, the announcer shouted for it to begin. The second the battle bell rang, Kim In-on tensed right up. In that exact moment, he thought to himself, "Just go absolutely crazy, kid." Louis Vallon Se-jun smirked. "You got it." He threw a glance up at the stands where Kim In-on was watching, his eyes totally laughing. "Guess I should live up to the old man's hype a bit, right?" Suddenly, the sword in his hand just erupted with insane spiritual energy. Louis Vallon Se-jun dropped into a low stance, and the energy literally spiraled into a massive ring. Watching that go down, the crowd went absolutely feral, screaming, "This is freaking insane." At the same time, that guy sneered, looking super arrogant. "All flash and no substance. What the heck can a loser with zero magic power even do?" The different fire energies packed inside the 5-color fire sword naturally clash with each other. This kind of blast could literally wreck the user if they don't lock it down with a massive amount of magic. But by exploiting the fire-storing scabbard's ability to hold onto heat and using the trick to feed crimson fire into it, Louis Vallon Se-jun just mumbled, "Energy charge is at 100%. Right across from him, the automaton popped its shield. Meanwhile, he swung his sword super hard, igniting the flames. That one move literally shook the entire stadium. A thought flashed through Louis Vallon Se-jun's head. If I pop the fire energy right now, all those heavily compressed fire spirits inside are going to blow up at the exact same time. His eyes were glued to the automaton's shield. In that do-or-die moment, Lee Se-jun muttered, "Blow him all straight to hell." Up in the stands, Michael Baumut's face went totally pale, like he finally realized something was super wrong. The announcer's jaw practically hit the floor. What the heck? What is this psycho trying to do? It took a hot minute for the thick dust to finally clear out. Lee Se-jun slowly sheathed the sword in his hand, panting hard. Once he was done, he traced his eyes along the massive gash left on the field. Did I go a little too hard on that one? Seeing how wrecked everything was, the announcer panicked. Tech support team, hustle over to the central hall, right freaking now. He quickly blurted out. And with that crazy display, the competition is officially over. A bit later, the clicking of high heels echoed all through the empty hall. Inside, Lee Se-jun was standing there, looking super awkward. As soon as she saw him, Ryu-ha gave a little bow. "I am so sorry for making you wait around after calling you all the way here. I had to help clean up the absolute mess left at the arena." Lee Se-jun scratched his head, feeling kinda embarrassed. "Nah, don't sweat it. I'm the one who should be saying sorry. My bad for causing that whole crazy scene at the central hall." He dropped his voice a bit. "Probably should have kept my power in check a little better." She looked completely clueless for a second. "What on earth are you talking about, Cadet Lee Se-jun?" He looked confused. She asked him again, "Did you seriously think I dragged you here just to scold you?" Ryu-ha instantly shut that down. "Obviously not. No, the real reason I invited you here is right on cue." Her stomach let out this massive growl again. The weird noise made Lee Se-jun freeze up for a sec, and he coughed to hide how cringy it was. "What I mean is," she finally shot her offer, "I'm totally down to pay you 10 times the market price." Ryu-ha stared right at him, looking dead serious. "You be willing to hand over the 5-color fire sword and the fire-storing scabbard to me?" Hearing that, Lee Se-jun's eyes went wide for a beat. "Wait, what?" In that exact split second, the connection with Ryu-ha was fully locked in. Ryu-ha suddenly leaned in close, using this totally whiny, cute voice. "Come on, it's seriously such a dope gear set." Suddenly, the system screen lit up right in Lee Se-jun's face. A pact with the target, Ryu-ha, has been established. The pact level with creator Lee Se-jun is currently at level 1. His eyes bugged out, his pupils shaking because he was so shocked. It happened that fast? In my past life, I had to offer her weapons a ton of times before this link even sparked. Lee Se-jun replied super awkwardly. Thanks, ma'am." He quietly hyped himself up. "Whatever, this is still a crazy stroke of luck." Glowing magic text popped up right in front of him. The system voice echoing like clockwork, extracting the pack now. The notification voice got all dramatic, like it was dropping some epic loot, proceeding to extract the pack from target Ryu-ha. Packed, iron-eating phenomenon. Rank, high tier. Quality, absolute masterpiece. A type of iron that generates heat by literally eating other metals. It will corrode any iron-based stuff it touches and absorb the core right into itself. Absorbs iron to create mineral blood. Lee Se-jun stared blankly at the thing right in front of him.
"So it's totally done."
Right then, Ryu-ha leaned in again. "You're gonna sell that to me, right?" He instantly shook his head. "Yeah, no way." Hearing that, she raised an eyebrow. "But you literally just said it's done." Suddenly, a voice called out from outside. "Principal, it's Kim In-on." He looked up, his voice super formal and clear, like he was delivering an absolute must-do order. The Academy Director announced that the awards ceremony is going down right now. Kim In-on turned to Lee Se-jun. "Can I take Cadet Lee Se-jun with me?" She gave a tiny nod, her gaze totally deep and unbothered like a dark lake. "I understand." Lee Se-jun quickly headed for the door. He sneakily glanced back over his shoulder. "Catch you later then." Back inside, Ryu-ha's stomach was still crying out for help. And so, we head to the literal heart of Babel Academy, the main glass bridge building, Maruk Mansion. The scene cuts to the inside of the mansion, with Lee Se-jun practically jogging to keep up with In-on. The older guy keeps his voice low as he walks, his eyes looking way more intense than usual. "Make sure you watch your freaking manners in front of the Academy's principal. The man didn't just let you off the hook for completely trashing the hall during your showcase." Kim In-on pauses for a split second before going on. "He is also on a completely different level from us." Se-jun just gives a slight smirk, his eyes looking weirdly chill. "You seriously don't need to worry so much, sir." Lee Se-jun steps right inside. Principal Lee stares dead straight at the teenager. "So, you must be the new student, Lee Se-jun, the Ascension Emperor, Principal Lee. Before I regressed and turned back time, this guy was the absolute legend who sacrificed himself fighting the heaven-destroying demon god all by himself. One of the 6 great demon gods. The memory of his brutal death suddenly flashes through my mind. I can't help but feel a massive wave of respect for the old man. He is a total perfectionist, all right. Principal Louis Vallon finally speaks up. Those weapons you showed off today were seriously fascinating. He lets out a heavy sigh. I can't say I don't have a few regrets about them, but I have extremely high hopes for you. Hearing that, Louis Vallon Se-jun totally freezes up. Regrets? My pride is taking a hit, burning like a stubborn fire in a forge. Even though I brace myself for this, I still kind of want to chuck the 5-color fire sword and the fire-storing scabbard right back into the forge and start over. Just then, Principal Louis Vallon makes an offer. Therefore, to recognize your crazy talent and hard work, I am going to grant you 2 rewards. He asks, dead serious. Tell me exactly what you need. Louis Vallon Se-jun's eyes go wide. For the first time, genuine shock actually breaks through his totally chill poker face. Wait, he gets 2 freaking rewards? He answers super fast, his voice clear and not hesitating for a second. I want rewards that can boost my mana capacity and my memory skills. The second he says that, Principal Louis Vallon waves his arm through the air and a glowing symbol pops right up out of nowhere. Se-jun stares hardcore at the 2 treasures, the black inkstone, hero rank, absolute masterpiece quality. A shard glowing with this sick, ink-black light drops down from the dark. It literally has the power to swallow up everything except the shadows themselves. It can suck the mana dry out of anything that touches the crystal. And the dream ivory, also hero rank. Legend says it's a tusk from a Baku, a freaking dream-eating beast. It's packed with illusion magic that lets you cross the line between reality and dreams. You can literally hack into people's dreams using its illusionary mana. He pulls a totally dumbfounded look. I mean, the black ink stone is already insanely rare, but the dream ivory is next level impossible to find. Se-jun smirks to himself. They might be a massive pain to control right now, but I already know exactly how I'm going to use them. The old man stares at him for a good long minute. His voice is a bit softer, but still hits heavy. Are you satisfied with these? Louis Vallon Se-jun gives a small bow to show his thanks. They are seriously awesome, sir. The second he steps out of the room, another voice suddenly echoes out. What exactly are you plotting, my lord? The magic mirror is super suspicious about why this one kid got hooked up with 2 whole rewards. This is so not your usual style. Principal Louis Vallon just brushes it off. I gave them to him simply because the kid has the skills to actually handle them. Hearing that, the mirror can't help but be blown away. Oh, really? I just get the vibe that he is acting like some grumpy old man. The principal replies in a deep voice. That just proves the kid has so much insane depth that even you can sense it. Principal Louis Vallon watches Louis Vallon Se-jun's back as he disappears down the old-school hallway. Besides, wah. Even I can't completely figure that kid out. The scene shifts over to the Maru mansion. Inside the classroom, a bunch of guys are totally gossiping up a storm. Just then, this cheerful dude walks up to Han. Yo, Han, where do you want to grab lunch today? Han shuts him down instantly. Zero hesitation. Sorry, I've got to meet up with Senior HW today. The guy's jaw literally drops to the floor. Wait, a meetup with the 3rd-year top dog of the VIP department. Han just shrugs it off like it's no big deal. Our families are pretty tight, so we hang out all the time. He said he would give me some solid advice on surviving this academy, so we're catching up. The other guy inches closer. Bro, if that's the case, mind if I tag along? Right at that second, Louis Vallon Se-jun swaggers into the room. He shoots Han this icy, dead-eyed glare. The moment they spot Louis Vallon Se-jun, the entire class shuts up instantly. His eyes lock onto Han Baumut again. The guy instinctively shivers, feeling a cold sweat down his spine. What the hell is up with that creepy stare? Seeing him freak out, Louis Vallon Se-jun just lets out a cocky smirk. Looks like the punk is finally figuring out his place in the food chain. Meanwhile, Han is grinding his teeth, his massive ego totally bruised. Son of a bitch, am I seriously going to lose to trash like him again? Suddenly, the classroom door gets shoved open. Kim In-on marches in like a boss, his strict eyes scanning the whole room. Everyone, grab your seats right now. He looks around the classroom. All right, looks like the whole gang is here. Kim In-on stares down the class and keeps talking. Since this is our very first class, we are going to kick things off with some self-introductions. He holds up an item with a dead serious look. This block right here is a material called reflective alloy. It's literally dozens of times more sensitive to mana than your basic ores. Because of that, if you channel your mana into it like this, Kim In-on pauses, making sure every single word hits hard. The weapon you're picturing in your head will effortlessly take shape. At the exact same time, Se-jun is staring at him, totally hyped and full of respect. It is no joke that this guy is ranked in the top 100 master crafters in the entire world. But honestly, back when we did the contract stone test, I kind of figured it out. This guy is a straight-up genius. Kim In-on takes a breath. his voice dropping into this deep, philosophical tone. Because it's so freaking sensitive, it is absolute garbage for real combat, but it acts like a mirror for your subconscious, letting you see exactly what you're made of on the inside. He suddenly raises his voice, and that is exactly why any gear made out of this reflective alloy is called an alter ego. So, your big intro to the refining department is going to be forging your own alter ego. Right at the end, Kim In-on drops a friendly warning. Just so you know, your final projects are going to be flexed in the main hall for a whole week, so you better not slack off. The whole class yells back, "Understood, sir." Lee Se-jun's eyes lock right back onto that snobby rich kid. He starts thinking to himself, these reflective alloy chunks definitely cost over 10 million won a pop. Man, that is so typical Babel, even their freaking icebreaker is a total flex. Right then, Han practically jumps out of his skin as he grabs his sword. Watching him, I just let out this massive, exhausted sigh. Seriously, man? Se-jun turns around, shaking his head in total disappointment. There isn't a single person in this room with the one talent that actually matters. Right on cue, Kim In-on calls out. And last but not least, Lee Se-jun. He answers back instantly. Right here, sir. Lee Se-jun's brain starts spinning. I am already the top dog of the department anyway, so there's literally 0 point in hiding my actual skills anymore. A crazy idea suddenly hits him. If I'm gonna do this. Lee Se-jun's eyes flash with pure, fiery ambition. Should I just say screw it and go all out? Out of nowhere, a massive explosion just ripped through the classroom. At the exact same time, some dude started talking trash. Man, there's a huge crowd out here. Guess everyone's just simping for Lee Se-jun, he went on, sounding super salty and annoyed. It's hilarious how they keep hyping him up like his level is built different. Bro is literally just a freshman. The guy next to him nodded hard. Facts, bro. 100%. The dude leaned in, giving a little nod. That's exactly what I'm saying, man. Then they both looked up at the project. Then Kim In-on's voice echoed out. Even though things got totally out of hand during the crafting process, like, it literally swallowed 19 of the projection alloys lying around. We figured this just proves how insanely gifted student Lee Se-jun is. So, we're just gonna display it exactly as it is. One guy let out a dry laugh, his sarcastic voice cutting right through all the whispering. Yeah, right. That was totally just some random glitch from his skill going off. The dude next to him jerked his chin at the piece, looking mad, jealous, and skeptical. Didn't that only happen because he spammed way too many projection alloys all at once? The first guy cut back in. It's been a hot minute since the refining department actually had a top student. They're probably just trying to glaze him up as some ultimate genius. Right then, Erica totally interrupted. Well, I kinda see it differently. Jack suddenly rolled up, hitting them with a smirk. I'm with you on that one, bro. Jack's voice got real intense. Honestly, the amount of projection alloys laying around there, still nowhere near enough to show off Lee Se-jun's actual potential. Meanwhile, somewhere else, a hammer just slammed down super hard. And right then, Lee Se-jun was practically dripping in cold sweat. The older guy dropped his voice, looking completely mind-blown. Did you even clock that? Up until now, there hasn't been a single slip-up. Not even by 0.01 seconds. Assistant Han just stared at him, totally clueless. Like, seriously, what are we even supposed to teach a kid whose stats are this insane? He let out a little laugh. Whatever, let's just skip his turn and get it over with. Then he turned to the class, waving them down. Who wants to see a live demo? A bit later, Assistant Han finally yelled out, all right, class is dismissed. Get out of here. Back over to Lee Se-jun. His eyes were literally glued to the hammer. Then, he just zoned in on the metal scraps under the desk. Without even a second thought, Lee Se-jun yanked the hammer up again. Assistant Han suddenly chimed in, yo, you trying to smash that thing to pieces or what? He instantly froze, giving the TA a super polite bow. The dude stepped closer, dropping a warning. We actually gotta turn this stuff in after forging class this week, so don't go wrecking them, okay? Lee Se-jun tilted his head, looking confused. Turn them in? Assistant Han rolled his eyes, looking so done. Bro, where do you think the students get their budget from? The department literally only funds us based on how many weapons we manage to sell out there. He paused for a sec, then hit him with a question. So what exactly is ticking you off right now? Is your stamina bugging out, or is your mana running low? Caught off guard, Se-jun couldn't help but let out a little laugh. Honestly, my totally wrecked body is the biggest issue right now. Right then, a bunch of heavy thoughts hit him. To craft my training gear, I literally have to forge Mac-Thack stone. But my stamina is way too trash to pull that off. The TA tilted his head, sounding like he was dropping the ultimate cheat code. If you seriously need to do that for your forging. He thought about it for a second before throwing out a fix. Wouldn't spamming some buff charms be way faster than actually grinding your physical stats? Hearing that, he literally busted out laughing. I swear, that didn't even cross my mind. Probably because that's the exact meta I always dodge before my regression. A smirk crept onto Louis Se-jun's face like he just unlocked a hidden route. Thinking about it, since I time traveled back and my physical stats are absolutely nerfed right now, I can totally just forge the Macthac stone while I'm juiced up on buff charms. He gave a quick bow. Yo, thanks a ton for the pro tip just now. Assistant Han just shook his head. No biggie, man. Then Louis Se-jun looked up, his eyes instantly locking onto the sword in the TA's hand. While checking out the forging work, he couldn't hold back some advice. You're burning way too much mana for this. Dial it back to, like, 70% of what you're doing right now, and instead, just focus all your striking power onto one single spot. Right before walking off, Louis Se-jun dropped straight facts. Trust me, doing that is going to boost your efficiency way more. Hearing that, the dude could only force an awkward laugh. Did a literal freshman just give a TA a tutorial? Then, Assistant Han turned back and stared at his hammer. By now, the sun was literally baking everything outside. The Academy is always trying to push this whole independent self-study vibe onto every single student. The system's voice pinged, and as the doors slid open, a professor's voice just kept dragging on. You are free to sign up for classes, from literally any other department, or even grind out dozens of courses in a single semester. But no matter what, you still gotta clear all your core major subjects. And if you rack up 3 failing grades, you're instantly kicked out. Sure, you got total freedom, but you better own up to your own choices. Suddenly, the intercom blared. Next stop, UR Magic Department Zone. And right on cue, Louis Se-jun just casually strolled off the train. The second he looked up, Erica was suddenly right there. Some dude cut her off, talking pure trash. Yo, stop blocking the way and move it. Louis Se-jun instantly frowned. Like, who even are these NPCs? Trying to start beef out of nowhere? He raised his voice, clapping right back. Actually, you're the ones who need to get out of the way. Hearing that, the dude literally started shaking because he was so triggered. But Erica just stepped closer to Se-jun. Where are you headed to anyway? She asked, looking super curious. Seeing her pull a move like that left the dude standing there looking completely dumbfounded. Lady Erica. Meanwhile, Louis Se-jun kept it 100% real, just hitting up the magic department. I was trying to figure out if there's any side electives I could grind for extra credits. Seeing that, she didn't even hesitate. Cool, let me show you the way then. The annoying dude immediately shoved his way into the conversation. Lady Erica, the meetup is literally starting right now. She straight up shut him down. Just go by yourselves. The dude was panicking hard now. But the seniors literally said they really wanted you to pull up. Erica shot him an ice-cold glare, her voice totally chill but leaving zero room for arguments. I really don't care. Turning back to Louis Se-jun, his expression was completely unbothered, and the two of them just bounced, totally ignoring the dude yelling, Lady Erica. Once they finally got some peace and quiet, Erica turned to him, looking way more serious. So, what kind of elective are you actually looking for? Louis Se-jun took his time before answering. I'm honestly just trying to learn more about buff charms. She kept pressing him. Like, what kind of buff exactly? He played it cool and replied, something that boosts physical stats, but absolutely cannot mess with the forging process. Hearing that, Erica immediately suggested, why don't we try using barrier magic then? Se-jun froze up. Barrier magic? Isn't that type of magic usually just meant for defense? She slowly explained that it could be super versatile, totally depending on how you use it. Erica pulled a thin sheet of paper out of her pocket and motioned to him. Let me give you an example. She held the paper out to him. Try tearing this with all your strength. Se-jun took it, clearly feeling a thin layer of mana coating the surface, and was low-key amazed. Did she just buff its durability? No, actually. Not exactly. It kept its original properties, but it would automatically toughen up like crazy when hit by a strong external force. Louis Se-jun stared blankly at the piece of paper. At the same time, he figured this technique was absolutely perfect for forging since it requires insane microcontrol. Erica gave a soft chuckle. For complex applications like this, you're probably going to need a professor's help. He stared at the paper, totally zoning out while suspicions popped up in his head. Wait a minute. This magic formula looks super familiar. Meanwhile, she just kept rambling on and on. The professor teaching barrier structures actually married into a branch of my family, so I can totally hook you up with a direct intro if you want. Saying that, Erica raised her voice a bit, waiting for an answer. Then suddenly, Louis Se-jun yelled out, "This is it." The piece of paper was instantly ripped to shreds. Seeing that, she couldn't help but freak out a little. Did you seriously figure out my family's barrier magic in just that split second? And you even managed to break it? Morning rolled around at UR University's magic department. Se-jun, showing up right next to her in the middle of campus, left everyone shook, making them the dead center of nosy stares and nonstop whispering. Why the hell is Erica hanging out with some random guy from another department? I swear I saw them walking together yesterday too. If I'm not tripping, they showed up together at the last exhibition too. Surrounded by all the glaring eyes and gossip echoing across the campus, he could only let out a helpless sigh. Man, these trash rumors really do spread like wildfire. Why are these people so obsessed with sticking their noses into other people's business? It's just ridiculous. If Erica actually had feelings for me, there would already be some kind of connection between us. Anyway, what kind of weird criteria are they even using to pick people for this class? I already signed up for this class, but now they're demanding a placement test first. Erica suddenly spoke up, pointing it out. This is the spot for the barrier structures exam. Louis Valen Se-jun started looking around, totally skeptical as he asked, wait, this forest? The other candidates were nonstop bitching and complaining. Damn it, what kind of middle-of-nowhere trash spot is this? He quietly scoped out the forest in front of him, thinking to himself, are we seriously playing some kind of stupid treasure hunt for an exam? This is starting to get super annoying. Did they seriously use a barrier to hide something? Louis Valen Se-jun accidentally stepped on some weird spot, causing the barrier wrapping the forest to instantly shatter. The second the barrier broke right under his feet, a teaching assistant popped up out of nowhere and loudly announced, you have passed the test. He was so shell-shocked he could only blurt out, wait, what? Robert Barry glanced up at the teaching assistant standing by his desk, looking completely baffled. The young lady of that family is actually showing interest in the top student of our department. The teaching assistant shoved his phone right in front of Professor Robert Burry, who specialized in barrier structures at the UR Magic Department, and replied, yeah, exactly. Just take a look at this list. Staring at the list on the screen, he let out a heavy sigh of disbelief. I also thought it was super weird that she'd randomly apply for a basic class like this. Thanks to her clout, the number of applicants literally tripled. But I am not thrilled about it at all, especially with that request from the young master of the Yin family. So this year, we are throwing in an extra test using the Lost Soul Labyrinth. The Lost Soul Labyrinth, this was a type of barrier that totally scrambles your senses and makes you lose all sense of direction. Even though it's just a beginner-level barrier, if you are completely clueless about magic, you wouldn't even realize it was there. Witnessing the whole thing go down, Robert was left speechless, hyping the kid up in his head as he realized his true potential. Even without the young lady lifting a single finger to help, he still managed to smash that labyrinth using pure instinct. He then loudly announced to the crowd, all of you standing here have passed the first round. From this moment on, we will be dividing up the classes based on test number 2. One cocky student immediately shot his hand up. I'll go first. That guy was already scheming in his head, thinking this was his golden ticket to flex and impress Erica. Robert gave a nod of approval. All right, the second test is pretty straightforward. I want you guys to use your mana to dismantle the active barrier right in front of you. I'll be grading you based on your clear time, so do it fast and do it right. The test kicked off. It was a spiderweb-shaped barrier with an actual spider sitting in the dead center acting as the core. This spider would constantly scurry away the second it felt any mana shooting through the threads, and as long as it was alive, the whole web would just keep regenerating forever. Staring down the barrier, the dude who just volunteered froze up, sweating bullets as he tried to run the math in his head. To surround this entire magic structure the normal way, my mana pool is way too small. If that's the case, I'll just blitz it with pure speed. The professor glanced down at his watch and gave his harsh feedback. 2 minutes and 23 seconds. You really need to focus more on actually understanding the barrier's structure. Still, this result isn't complete garbage. The student sneaked a quick glance over at the young lady, desperately hoping for a little validation. But Erica's face was completely deadpan, as cold and still as a frozen lake. That just completely crushed the guy, making him swallow his pride and bow his head. Thank you, Professor. Right then, Robert barked out his next order. Next, let's go. Next person, hurry up. After everyone had their turn, he let out an annoyed sigh, confirming. Every single one of you is starting from the basic class. Then he called out, next up is Erica Eno. You may begin. She stepped up with this crazy calm vibe. Erica just casually reached out and tapped the barrier with a single finger. The entire magic circle instantly glowed super bright and then shattered into a million pieces. In the dead silence, the faces of all the students around her went totally blank from the shock. But a second later, the crazy loud whispers blew up like a tidal wave. How the hell was she that insanely fast? She literally tore the whole formula apart and made the barrier completely collapse. Guess that's top of the class energy for you. While everyone was still freaking out, the guy slowly walked over. Robert stared at his stopwatch and coldly announced, 22 seconds. Good job. But if you used the standard dismantling method, you probably would have been 2 seconds faster. Facing Robert's strictness, Erica didn't even flinch. She just gave a slight bow and calmly replied, I'll keep that in mind, sir. He didn't say another word. His sharp eyes glared at the next candidate like a silent warning about his crazy high standards. Then he loudly called out the name. Last up is Lee Se-jun. Watching Lee Se-jun step out, Robert secretly judged him in his head. This kid looks totally average. Let's see what he's actually made of. Instead of rushing to cast a spell or doing some try-hard prep work, he just casually sat down right in front of the barrier. The whispers from the crowd of students started getting louder. What the heck is this dude doing? Does he not realize the clock is already ticking? Lee Se-jun just sat there totally chill. His eyes didn't waver at all, hyper-focused on peeling back every single layer of the energy shield's structure. This barrier had traits super similar to Inkstone, specifically the ability to auto-heal and snap back to normal if the impact doesn't hit a certain threshold. Because of that, to forge this kind of stone, the blacksmith has to channel all their force at the exact same time with perfect precision. Robert finally lost his patience. He stomped over and demanded, What the hell are you trying to pull here? Listen to me. Her voice rang out, cutting him off. Just leave him alone. Facing Erica's totally bossy demand, the guy could only stay helplessly quiet. Robert didn't say another word, pressing his lips tightly together and stepping back. In the dead silence, Lee Se-jun's brain was running on overdrive. So if I do this, can I actually trap the kinetic energy building up inside the stone? Instead of shattering or just fading away like normal, the second his finger tapped the weak point, the entire barrier suddenly burst into massive flames. Through the thick, stunned silence, Lee Se-jun just spoke in a totally normal voice, acting like he just finished some random chore. Done. Just like this, he thought to himself, I can totally forge the inkstone now. Lee Se-jun stood up, stepping over the ruined scraps like they literally meant nothing to him. The barrier dissolved, and he just walked off, totally ignoring everyone staring at him. The TA checked the watch and announced, time is 7 minutes and 45 seconds. Robert watched Lee Se-jun quietly walking away, thinking to himself that how much time the kid took literally didn't matter at all. This time it might have taken him 7 minutes, but next time he faces a barrier like this, he's definitely going to crush it in a heartbeat. He didn't just break the barrier, he literally created his own formula to dismantle the magic. She watched his lonely back fade away, her eyes full of anxiety. Erica thought to herself, if his insane blacksmithing skills actually get combined with magic, I'm honestly terrified. Who knows what kind of crazy overpowered artifact he's going to create. A letter arrived announcing, we have received the intermediate blacksmithing application, using hero tier materials or higher from first-year student Lee Se-jun. Under Rule 8 of the Forge Safety Guidelines, anyone wishing to supervise, please contact us. Right then, the instructor stared at his computer screen and wondered, man, I wonder how many people are going to show up for this one. Suddenly, messages started flooding in, blowing his mind. Wow, people are replying super fast. But surprisingly, absolutely 0 people from Vice Principal Michael's faction sent in an application. Rumor has it, things are super tense over there because his kid got knocked down to 2nd place. Guess the rumors are totally true. The instructor started scheming. All right, I should start picking people then. His eyes practically bugged out of his head when he read the text saying, the principal announced that she was personally going to supervise student Lee Se-jun's intermediate forging session. Suddenly, Ryu Ha popped out of nowhere and spoke up. Long time no see, student Lee Se-jun. He froze, totally shook on the inside. You're insanely busy, yet you personally came all the way down here. She replied super casually but with major principal energy, I came here to see your skills with my own eyes. Lee Se-jun didn't look straight at Ryu Ha, just quietly replied, if that's how it is, I guess I've got to go all out on crafting this. Saying that, he instantly started forging right on the spot. Step 1 of forging the inkstone. Honestly, there are a bunch of ways to process this stone, but the absolute hardest technique is the nightfall process. You gotta stick the stone in a totally pitch black space with 0 light, then use magic to rip the impurities out of the inkstone while it's spreading like water. During this step, even a tiny slip-up in controlling your mana will make the stone instantly freeze up and become completely useless. Sounds easy when you say it, but realistically, it's pretty much like rebuilding matter from scratch. She kept totally dead silent, watching every single move Lee Se-jun made. While his hands kept moving in a smooth rhythm, Lee Se-jun's brain started doing some cold, hard math. Is 14 really the best limit I can hit? If I drop it any lower, the performance just won't cut it. Step 2. He sparked up a blazing red flame straight from his palm. That insane heat wrapped around the chunk of metal, making the space around him literally warp with every breath he took. He channeled his mana through the dark red flame to filter out exactly the right amount of firepower. This stabilized flame is called the Flowing Wildfire, and its whole deal is keeping the exact same temp it had the second it was created. Step 3. Use a hammer wrapped in the Flowing Wildfire to smash the heavy inkstone. The main catch is, you absolutely cannot stop to rest until the deformation drops thanks to the flame's properties. Watching that blazing fire, Ryuha quietly thought to herself, even if he's immune to fire, that doesn't mean he doesn't feel the pain. How far has he actually pushed himself? He kept swinging the hammer down over and over with this freakish obsession. While the sound of the hammer echoed through the whole forge, in a hidden corner of the campus, Erika was just quietly standing there, waiting for Lee Se-jun. Totally ignoring Lee Se-jun's crazy try-hard energy, the girl standing nearby looked like she couldn't care less. Ryuha was just yawning non-stop, looking sleepy as hell. She stood there with this totally exhausted and gloomy vibe. 4 whole hours of forging had gone by. The properties of the inkstone, after soaking up the flames to the absolute limit, were starting to change. He let out a massive breath, thinking to himself, hell yeah, done. The morphing finally stopped, so he melted down the refined inkstone and poured it right into the prep mold. The exhausted, dead inside look on Ryuha's face vanished in a flash, replaced by this wide-eyed, totally shook stare. She was freaking out in her head. Wait, casting instead of forging? The stats are totally going to change since the darkness is trapped deep inside that mold. What the heck is this guy even thinking? Step 4. Right when Lee Se-jun was about to dive back in, Ryuha suddenly snapped and tried to cut him off. Yo, hold up. But honestly, he didn't give a damn about her intense warning and just kept going. Right then, Lee Se-jun's brain was on overdrive, completely flooded with numbers and crazy magic structures, slamming the brakes on the inkstone's mutation using a barrier-breaking formula and building a full-blown magic circuit in that tiny, split-second window. The second the magic circuit locked into place during the inkstone's hyper-fast transformation, everything just went dead silent, revealing the finished drop right there in Louis Valen Se-jun's hand. It turned out to be an ink spider bracelet, rocking this super deep, pitch-black vibe. The moment the bracelet took its final shape, a robotic system voice popped off, totally shattering the silence. A system pop-up just flashed right in his face. Permanent item, ink spider bracelet, successfully crafted. To smash through the usual stereotypes, throwing down a savage, no-holds-barred challenge is absolutely a must. Even if the raw material's potential wasn't fully maxed out, the blacksmith's pure skill in forging entirely new abilities is straight up top tier. You just unlock the skill, Black Soul Thread. Ink Spider Bracelet, rare tier, normal quality. A sick bracelet crafted by smelting down heavy ink stone. It has a crazy passive where it sucks up the wearer's mana and actually gets heavier based on how much juice it absorbs. It absorbs and banks the user's mana, letting you spam the Blast Ring skill. Right then, in the middle of the dead quiet room, Lee Se-jun let out a heavy breath and broke the silence. Nailed it. But right in that chill silence, Ryuha's stomach suddenly growled insanely loud, like it was literally announcing her hunger to the whole freaking world. He just froze, shooting her this hard side-eye like, bruh, really? Meanwhile, she turned beet red, totally embarrassed, and quickly slapped her hands over her stomach, desperately trying to hide her body straight up betraying her. Louis Valen Se-jun just rolled his eyes to the ceiling and let out this heavy, defeated sigh, like he had just watched an absolute legend completely crumble. He checked out the gear and dropped his hot take. Wait, is this actually a resonance effect? That is dope. It looks super basic, but honestly, its power is not all that crazy. If we play our cards right, we could totally aim for a set bonus. He kept his cool, acting like the whole stomach growling thing never happened, as he smoothly handed the item over to her and said, "My bad for not hooking you up with an actual weapon, especially since you are dealing with all this drama because of me. I don't know if this will work as a quick snack to satisfy your cravings, but you should seriously take it." Louis Valen Se-jun didn't even say another word. He just held his pose, staring straight at Ryuha. She snatched the gear from Louis Valen Se-jun's hand and out of nowhere, popped her unique skill, Soul Furnace. Ryuha took a little bite and was like, yo, this actually tastes pretty freaking good. He instantly blurted out, wait, for real? She just deadpanned back, yeah. Metaphorically speaking, it hits just like crispy fried tempura bits. Louis Valen Se-jun thought to himself, thank God. Wait, did I seriously just get into the habit of crafting everything to match Ryuha's weird taste buds? At this rate, maxing out her affinity level is going to be a total breeze. He cracked a little smirk at Ryuha and played it cool. Hey, I am just glad you vibe with it. She gave this super satisfied nod and said, duh. Though it is kinda a bummer having to snack on this when all that other top-tier loot is sitting right in front of me. By the way, when are you planning to flip that 5-color blade and the fire-hoarding scabbard? Lee Se-jun just shook his head, keeping that signature chill look in his eyes as he answered, I am definitely not selling them anytime soon. Ryuha paused, looking totally confused, but also kinda impatient, and pressed him. Excuse me? What exactly do you mean by that? Is the market price not juicy enough for you or something? He just smoothly replied. I am holding on to them to prep for the conquest class. Lee Se-jun flashed a tiny smirk, thinking to himself, plus, you know what they say. Starvation is the ultimate seasoning. He gave her a nod like he was locking in a promise and said, the second I forge some gear that is actually worthy of you, you will be the first to know. She got all flustered and red in the face, quickly shaking off the cringe to get her boss attitude back, and said, I will definitely hold you to that. Are we completely done with the forging session for now? He shot back. Yep, all done. Ryuha immediately jumped in, then let's bounce. The staff is going to come through to clean this place up anyway. Lee Se-jun replied, his voice all hoarse. Thank God, because I am literally running on 0% battery right now. But mid-step, his head totally spun, and he just collapsed backward. She freaked out and caught him before he hit the deck. Ryuha was panicking. Holy crap, are you okay? He tried to shake it off and groaned. Yeah, I am good. I guess I just absolutely sucked at managing my stamina bar today. She wasn't having it and just ordered, I am taking your ass back to the dorms. Unless you were secretly terrified of heights? Lee Se-jun fired back without missing a beat. Hell no. But next thing he knew, Ryuha literally swept him up in a straight-up princess carry before he could even process it. Let's ride. She planted one foot down, built up momentum, and freaking launched herself into the sky, blasting off like an actual lightning bolt. While flying through the air with him in her arms, Ryuha felt the mana surging through her veins and thought, no way. Did that mold I just ate seriously give me this much of a power boost? Meanwhile, getting Princess carried and blasted through the sky at breakneck speed, Lee Se-jun just gave up on life, completely helpless as he thought. Honestly, looking at it from every freaking angle, things are way more messed up now compared to my first life before the regression. Cut to Erica, who was still stubbornly standing outside on campus, waiting for him. Is Lee Se-jun seriously still not here? I absolutely have to hand him this invite. Over on the Babel Academy's Metallurgy Department's anonymous forum, someone snapped a sneaky pic of Erica and started stirring up drama. Yo, why the hell is she chilling over here? Isn't she like the top freshman of the combat department? The comment section just exploded with massive question marks. One guy chimed in, dude, she has literally been standing totally frozen in front of the metallurgy main building for 3 straight hours, just shivering. Then a whole mob of people jumped on the thread. Wait, is she hardcore simping for the metallurgy top student? I swear I saw her stalking him near the dorms last time too. Is that seriously it? Bro, if that is the case, why not just call the guy and tell him to come down? Shut up, dumbass. I am just spitting out theories here. Is that a crime? Aw, damn it. Lee Se-jun had been scrolling through the exact same thread, feeling totally helpless as he thought, what the hell is even happening right now? He just tried to cope, telling himself, whatever, man. If it is actually that important, they will just track me down later. Right on cue. The classroom door swung wide open. Some middle-aged dude walked in and announced, nice to meet you all. Starting today, I will be taking over the tool comprehension class. The name is Ricardo Myers. He slammed his hands super hard against the door, snapping everyone to attention, and started barking orders. First up, everyone head to the training center. The last one there is running 20 penalty laps around the stadium. Go. The second Ricardo Myers yelled that, the whole class practically scrambled and bolted. Like, what the heck is with this sudden marathon? Se-jun was totally stressed in the crowd too, thinking, wait, wasn't this supposed to be a theory class? Everyone kept whining. I have no clue, man. Just keep running. The gang finally made it. But Se-jun got busted by Ricardo's and had to run the full 20 laps. He just kept jogging, super chill. Like, yeah, I'm running. The other students wouldn't shut up about it. Like, dude, this guy's stamina is absolute trash. It literally hits rock bottom. No way he actually passes the intermediate forging exam. A bit later, Ricardo Myers stepped up and shouted, all right, listen up, everyone. He got all serious on us. Originally, this tool comprehension class was just supposed to be pure theory on how gear is built. But thanks to those crazy fire sword hunting incidents lately, we're totally switching up the curriculum. Blacksmiths who can forge hero-tier fire swords and above are getting attacked out there. People are calling those freaks the fire sword hunters. Jogging and listening in, Lee Se-jun thought to himself, man, even before my regression, That case was still totally unsolved. The professor kept going. No matter how insane your defense systems are, at the end of the day, the only thing that's going to save your life is your own body. Then Ricardo Myers raised his voice, laying down the law. So, along with studying gear in this class, you're all going to learn combat skills to actually protect yourselves. The class shouted back, "Yes, sir." Ricardo's. Myers smirked and said, "Awesome. Today, we're focusing on swords." Lee Se-jun muttered to himself, "Gotta play it safe and stay low-key this time around." He just kept pushing through the run. To pull that off, my number one priority is getting my stamina up. Lee Se-jun clenched his fist, thinking, honestly, even though I crafted this thing myself, the stats are insanely good. The system flashed a pop-up. It was an inkstone bracelet, which basically sucks up the wearer's mana to make itself way heavier. It hoards all that mana from its owner, letting you pop the Blast Circle skill. Blast Circle basically lets you totally manipulate gravity within a 1-meter radius around you. Checking out his system stats, he hyped himself up. Sweet, all my base stats went up by like 5 points on average. Before freshman year is over, I'm gonna buff this body up no matter what it takes. A good while later, Ricardo Myers finally called out to him. "Stop running and get over here, now." He glanced down at his hand again. Blast ring. The professor secretly sized him up, muttering, "Your stamina is actually way better than I gave you credit for." Then, Ricardo Myers tossed a sword his way. The prof challenged him. "Let's see if you've actually got what it takes for swordsmanship. Give this thing a swing." Lee Se-jun caught it and just stared at it for a sec. Moving smoothly is going to be a total pain with this heavy inkstone bracelet dragging me down. He debated with himself for a second. It's not exactly a hardcore, textbook technique, but should I just bust out that move? Screw it. Se-jun finally made up his mind and swung the sword down. The peanut gallery instantly started laughing their heads off. Wow, so slow. Dude's totally gassed out from the run. But hey, at least his form wasn't total garbage. Ricardo Myers, though, he saw something completely different. No way, that was actually flawless. Your blade already knows exactly where it wants to strike. He turned to him, looking totally mind-blown. Your tempo is way too rushed, though. You better fix that before we keep going. In a split second, Lee Se-jun's eyes went dead cold. Ricardo Myers literally shivered, and his vision flashed pure white. His eyes locked up in absolute shock. He freaked out, staring at the blade practically resting against his own throat. Ricardo Myers was having a total meltdown in his head. Did I seriously just get terrified by an engineering kid? Am I hallucinating this nightmare right now? He stammered, sweating buckets. Who on earth taught you that sword technique? Lee Se-jun gave a chill smile, but internally he was totally panicking. Wait, why the heck did that actually work? That guy literally told me he threw this junk technique together in like 10 minutes. Se-jun flashed back to his past life. Back then, Wang Shu was just scratching his ear like a deadbeat, whining, "Come on, man. I told you I'd pay you back next time. Everyone goes broke sometimes. Why are you flipping out over it?" He kept begging. "Look, can I just pay you in sword skills instead of cash? One super sick technique. I'll teach it to you, so please just chill for a sec." Snapping back to reality, Se-jun awkwardly scratched his head and lied through his teeth. "Oh, I just binge-watch a ton of hero battle clips online." Ricardo Myers definitely didn't buy it, but he smiled anyway. "Are you seriously interested in getting proper training for swordsmanship?" he asked. "I'll write you a sick recommendation letter to get into the body control class at Aga Quif." Later that afternoon at the Aga Quif Center, Lee Se-jun was just standing there, looking lost in the crowd. Meanwhile, Wang Shu was throwing a massive temper tantrum, stomping his feet. "How many freaking times do I have to tell you? I have 0 things left to teach you," he screamed. But Jack was totally clinging to him. "Please, master, don't do me dirty like this." That guy was actually a retired S-rank hero and Se-jun's regular deadbeat client, Wang Shu, literally known as the Sword Breaker. Louis Se-jun was completely mind-blown. Wait, this alcoholic gambling addict is an actual professor here? Spotting Se-jun staring, Wang Shu barked, "And who the hell are you?" Se-jun handed over the letter. "I'm Louis Se-jun, a freshman in the metallurgy department. Professor Ricardo Myers sent me over." Wang Shu blinked, totally caught off guard. "Wait, Ricardo Myers actually recommended you?" Jack scrambled to his feet and chipped in. "Yo, that kid is literally the valedictorian of the BOSPA department this year." Wang Shu gave him a deadpan look. "Dude looks basic as hell to me." He squinted at Se-jun. "Hey kid, are you really that desperate to be my student?" Jack hyped up and yelled. "Yes, absolutely." Hearing that, Wang Shu pointed straight at Se-jun. "All right then. If you can beat this random freshman, I'll take you in." He set up a quick sparring match for the two of them. Just one single round. First guy to land a clean hit wins. Wang Shu waved his hand and shouted, "All right, let's go." The second he called it, Jack bolted right at him. But Louis Val and Se-jun just stood there like a statue, gripping his sword tight. Wang Shu narrowed his eyes, wondering, is this kid going completely limp to maximize his speed by dropping all muscle tension? If he is, the smartest counter would be grappling him to the ground instead of a head-on strike. Right at that moment, Jack wildly swung his sword. Wang Shu just face-palmed and let out a massive sigh. That's exactly why I freaking hate show-offs, always sweating the mind games instead of just throwing down for real. He groaned, "So boring, man. Totally killed my vibe." Right after that, Jack lunged and tackled Lee Se-jun around the waist. He gritted his teeth, totally caught off guard. What the hell is this crazy strength? Lee Se-jun hyped himself up and activated his blast ring skill, setting off a blinding flash of power. He managed to totally flip the script, hissing a bit from the pain. Lee Se-jun's fist stopped dead right in Jack's face, with blood already dripping from the guy's nose. Seeing that, he smirked and asked, "Looks like I was a little faster, huh?" The whole room went dead quiet. After a sec, Jack finally spoke up. That attack just now was literally. Before he could even finish, Wang Shu barked out, "All right, everyone clear out. I remember promising to teach you, if you actually won." Hearing that, Lee Se-jun sat up and fired back, "Since he lost to me, shouldn't you be teaching me instead?" He totally started pushing their buttons. Can't believe Agape's top dog just lost to a mystic arts student. Honestly, that just sounds pathetic. Jack was completely dumbfounded. Pathetic? Seeing that, Wang Shu chimed in, "Fair enough. Guess I'll have to whip this idiot into shape so he can actually hold his own." He turned around, super hyped, and blurted, "So does that mean?" The old man cut in, "I'll figure out a schedule and send it to you. Just don't be late." This made Jack insanely happy. He bowed straight to the floor and said, "Thank you so freaking much, sir." Wang Shu let out an annoyed sigh and waved him off. "If we're done here, you can bounce." Then he turned to Lee Se-jun and said, "I've still got some private stuff to hash out with this kid." Once it was just the two of them left in the room, Wang Shu demanded, "Show me that sword technique you used against Ricardo's Myers again." He quickly agreed. "Got it." Lee Se-jun stared at him, totally on edge, then he dashed forward with his razor-sharp blade in hand. But in a split second, Lee Se-jun's sword got smacked right out of his grip by Wang Shu. He just stood there looking dumbfounded while the old man judged him. "This is a move meant to one-shot the enemy on sight," Wang Shu stated coldly. "The idea is dope, but the execution is still sketchy as hell. You really think it's fine for a sword technique to expose its weakness the second time you use it?" He yelled furiously. "If anyone actually dared to teach this crap to someone else and called it good, I'd snap their freaking arms and legs." But Wang Shu had no clue that he was actually the one who taught it to him. Wang Shu sighed and said, "Just wait and see. I'm going to build a solid foundation right over this flimsy skeleton of a technique you've got." Lee Se-jun casually asked, "So does that mean I'm officially enrolled in your class now?" Wang Shu confirmed without a doubt, "Damn straight you are." Hearing that, he felt pretty relieved and said his goodbyes. "All right then, I'm going to head out for today." After Lee Se-jun left, Wang Shu glanced at his back and muttered, "This kid is stubborn as hell." Once outside, Lee Se-jun let out a super annoyed sigh, acting all high and mighty when he's literally just doing after-sales service. Right then, Jack Myers walked up and called out, "Yo, dude." He looked pretty surprised and replied, "You still haven't bailed." Jack then whipped out a letter and said, "I've got something I want to give you." Lee Se-jun looked clueless and blurted, "What the heck is this?" So Jack explained, "An invite to join Noblesse. Basically, it's a squad for students from elite families." Lee Se-jun immediately connected the dots in his head. Was Erica planning to hand this to me from the very start? Jack sounded super hyped. "There are a ton of snobs in there, but I think this could be a really solid opportunity for you." But Lee Se-jun was kind of hesitating. "I'm not exactly sure if I should just casually accept something like this." Jack flashed a huge grin and said, "Thanks to you, I made it into that class, so I've got to show my appreciation somehow, right?" Seeing that, Lee Se-jun gave a small smile and said, "Thanks, man." A bit later, while walking, he mentally reviewed the minor subjects he'd signed up for so far: barrier structuring and body control. I kind of want to test the waters with a minor in the Mystic Arts department, too. Right now, I'm totally torn between curses, alchemy, and enhancement. Since he was totally zoning out, he accidentally bumped into someone. Lee Se-jun stopped and started to apologize. "My bad, excuse me." His eyes suddenly froze. Turns out, a girl had grabbed his wrist and was sizing him up. "Did you make this with your own hands?" Lee Se-jun bluntly confirmed. "And what if I did?" Then she eagerly offered, "How about I enhance it for you?" The system instantly popped up a notification, a link with the target. named Leah Claudel had been successfully established. Leah Claudel was literally someone who could upgrade gear by 2 whole tiers just through enhancement. An absolute genius among geniuses, the one who crafted legendary tier gear. The freak who totally flipped the entire enhancement industry upside down. Leah straight up shrieked in shock and inked stone. But it's at the rare tier. She kept nerding out over it. If I just slap a few formulas onto this. No, it's way too sick to just leave it at this level. Then Leah grabbed her head, totally stressing out. Damn it, how the heck am I supposed to solve this insane puzzle? Watching her freak out, Lee Se-jun judged her in his head. Never expected her to be this much of a weirdo. Then he asked flatly, is the gear trash or something? Leah quickly laid out the issue. The problem is there's just way too much stuff I want to do to it. It's forged from an inkstone, but why the heck is its compatibility so insanely high? There are so many freaking formulas I could use that I can't even pick one. Hearing that, Lee Se-jun just slapped something down on the table and spoke up. If that's the deal, then this should work out fine. Seeing her looking totally lost, he pointed out, I've still got more right here. Lee Se-jun carefully warned her. Plus, it's got a resonance effect going on, so keep an eye on that. Leah asked, practically buzzing with hype, dude, who the heck even are you? He casually introduced himself. I'm Lee Se-jun, a freshman in the alchemy department and the top dog of the mystic arts department this year. She was completely blown away and gasped. A freshman? That's insane. I'm a junior in the enhancement department. Right then, some guy walked up and totally killed their vibe, interrupting, I've got something to discuss. Come with me for a sec. Lee Se-jun quickly put it together, wasn't this Erica's little errand boy? Leah got instantly pissed, standing up and snapping at him. Are you blind? Can't you see we were literally in the middle of talking? The guy finally lowered his voice and muttered, I want to handle this the easy way, so just give me a few minutes. Lee Se-jun coldly fired back. If you've got something to say, just spit it out right here. So the guy let out a sigh and demanded, apologize for acting like such a jerk to Lady Erica. You actually ripped up the invite my lady gave you right in front of everyone. Lee Se-jun was totally clueless, like, bro, she literally told me to rip it up. The guy's eyes practically shot daggers as he snapped, oh, sure, keep making excuses. You should have never taken that invite from the Myers family in the first place. Lee Se-jun rolled his eyes and fired back. Did Erica send your lapdog butt over here? The dude panicked. No, I'm doing this totally on my own. Right then, Leah just cracked up, totally mocking him. Yeah, right, totally believable. She ruthlessly called him out, like, who doesn't know you're the young master's biggest lackey? That pissed the guy off big time. How does a piece of trash like you have the nerve? You're probably tripping right now, acting like you're some kind of VIP. He kept talking trash to Lee Se-jun, but Babel is totally packed with geniuses who are way out of your pathetic league. Lee Se-jun didn't even care, just clapping back. Oh, so when you say that, are you? Like, talking about yourself? Lee Se-jun's roast hit him like a freaking truck. The guy lost his mind, screaming, shut your mouth. Lee Se-jun watched the dude's power explode, but just chilly reached his hand out. With just one hand, he blocked the whole mob of illusionary beasts charging at him. When a wave of magic suddenly fizzled out, he couldn't help but flex. Just like I thought, that stuff isn't just pure magic. Did you seriously use a dagger as a medium to attack, even though they're just holograms? That totally freaked the guy out, making him stutter. How the heck did you do that? Lee Se-jun just casually spun the weapon in his hand and shot back. Bro, who knows? He busted out laughing, super hyped, and said, sounds pretty freaking tasty to me. Right then, the system pinged that the Mark of the Greed Iron link was officially activated. The guy totally broke down, whining, my 1 million is literally gone. Lee Se-jun smirked and mocked him. With the flavor of this god tier, no wonder you were losing your freaking mind over it. The system popped up with the link info again. Ruha, the Greed Iron, ultimate high-quality tier. It's the kind of iron that literally generates heat energy by gobbling up other irons. It completely corrodes metal on touch and sucks their cores right inside itself, literally hunting and eating iron to spawn mineral blood. Durability left is at 78%. Blast circle. In a split second, Lee Se-jun dashed forward and absolutely decked the guy right in the gut. The dude instantly folded and dropped to his knees. Lee Se-jun turned to Leah like, so, senior. He gave her a side eye and asked, are there any enhancement classes that are actually, like, worth checking out? Leah's face got super red for a sec, and then she was like, ancient enhancement. Plus, there's a ridiculously awesome senior named Leah Claudel in that one. After ditching the scene, the guy was hugging his stomach in total agony, going, freaking hell. He kept whining. I literally cannot believe a newbie. Student has such insane reflex speed. Right on cue, Erica popped up out of nowhere. My bad, but I'm gonna need to borrow that dagger for a sec to check it out. He jumped out of his skin and yelled, Lady Erica, how long have you been stalking here? The total simp respectfully handed it over. Here, take it, my lady. Erica stared at the blade and gave him a warning. You totally don't need to go snitching about this to my brother. As for the family head, I'll deal with him face to face later. He awkwardly scratched his head and was like, yeah, got it. Erica quietly judged the weapon. No cap, it's definitely gear used as a medium. It literally has an anti-theft spell slapped on it. She was kinda low-key shook inside, thinking, did he seriously invent his own counter skill just by mixing his magic with Professor Roberts? Erica's mind was totally spinning. Lee Se-jun, his forging talent is probably way beyond an S rank. Like, off the charts. I absolutely have to bump up his magic compatibility rating to an A rank. Out of nowhere, the system popped up, saying a link with a target named Erica Eno was officially locked in. Lee Se-jun was so utterly lost. Like, what the heck is even happening right now? He started guessing if that girl was secretly creeping on his fight with her lackey. Lee Se-jun stared at the blades in his hands, totally done with it. Whatever. At least I got a fat payout for dealing with that drama. Wait, I'm still short like 10 whole blades. Leaving them like this is kinda trash, but if I mod them with the Black Spirit thread, they'll be sick to use. He let out a massive yawn and groaned. Whatever, let's just bench that for now. I was actually so hyped for Professor Kim In-on's class, but instead, I spent literally the whole day listening to basic, boring theories I've already memorized. Total snooze fest. Right after that, Kim In-on started lecturing in his super serious teacher voice. Alright, enough with the explanations. Let's jump into the real deal. He grabbed the thing on his desk and started yapping. Even if you guys use the exact same kind of metal, its shape is going to mutate completely depending on how you tweak your magic flow. A rock suddenly spawned in as Kim In-on kept talking. How well you flex this metal shifting trick is totally what makes or breaks a weapon's vibe. He dumped a bunch of different rocks on the desk. Then Kim In-on snapped it back into the original iron chunk, bragging. Because of that, if you're actually serious about being a blacksmith, you've got to perfectly max out the potential of whatever metal you're messing with. Kim In-on dropped the assignment. For today's class, we're going to practice the shifting technique on these iron bars. He had someone pass around the stones and drop the rules. First, channel your magic flow to carve out a scratch. Like 3 centimeters deep right dead center on the iron bar. These things are tuned to be super sensitive to changing shape, so you guys better not screw it up. Lee Se-jun was low-key thinking to himself, okay, so maybe he's not totally hating on magic forging methods after all. Kim In-on shouted out, you guys have exactly 10 minutes. Go. The whole class was totally freaking out over the iron bars in their hands. Why is this even happening to me? Everyone was non-stop raging. It literally won't go back to its normal shape. Right then, 2 guys stepped up. Lee Se-jun, just hit them with a board, I'm done. Han glared over at him and flexed. I finished it too, sir. Kim In-on was super hyped and praised them. Sick. You two can move on to the next training stage. Then he threw another curveball at them. I'm gonna demo a completely different setup now. Try and copy this. Han gave Lee Se-jun this insanely cocky side eye. My speed and my execution are, like, dead even with his. This time, I'm totally gonna crush him. Kim In-on kept yapping away. Next up is this specific diagram flow. Han rushed into it, radiating main character energy. My time to shine is literally right now. Han was internally geeking out, thinking he was about to drop a flawless masterpiece and make everybody lose their minds. But the second he actually finished it, Professor Kim In-on was like, Han Baumut, try reverting the iron bar back to its original state. Han just froze up and was like, wait, Professor, what did you just say? When he actually tried to do it, he totally panicked. Oh crap, why is it acting like this? Han realized he was totally screwed because the mana flow structure was completely trashed. Seeing him struggle, Kim In-on chimed in, that iron bar couldn't handle the deformation you just put it through. Basically, it proves your whole process was messed up right from step 1. Han, getting super defensive, shot back. But I did exactly what you told me to do, Professor. The professor just leaned in and explained, what I was trying to hammer into your heads earlier is that you have to fully understand the metal's hidden potential. Kim In-on kept roasting him, saying that if you can't restore the altered mana structure, you aren't deforming the gear, you're literally just trashing it. It becomes a massive wild card that wrecks the quality and performance. You seriously need to hit the books and review this part. Hearing that, Han just hung his head and mumbled, I'll keep that in mind, sir. Then he shot a side eye at Se-jun, wondering if that dude actually figured out the trick. He basically coped hard, thinking, nah, no way. He probably just got dumb lucky while zoning out. But literally right after that, Louis Valen Se-jun totally nailed it. It actually freaking worked. He perfectly reverted the iron bar back to normal. The whole class was shook. Wait, what? Didn't the professor just say that was impossible? There's no freaking way. Even Inon was caught off guard. Student Lee Se-jun. Would you mind showing me that deformation technique one more time? Se-jun sighed internally, thinking, man, I totally gave him the wrong idea. He played it off all humble and was like, oh, it only worked because this iron was specifically tweaked for us students. If this was just your standard, run-of-the-mill iron bar, there is absolutely zero chance I could have pulled that off. Watching it all go down, it finally clicked for Kim Inon. Ah, so that's it. He pulled it off by using the high sensitivity of this modified iron. He was deep in thought, mind blown that he'd actually missed such a massive detail. It traced back to the absolute peak conqueror and the greatest blacksmith of them all, the Holy Flame, Louis Valens. He originally came up with it back in his glory days as an S-rank hero, and even with decades rolling by since then, nobody has ever been able to debunk it. That deformation formula is basically the holy grail for every blacksmith out there, the absolute truth of iron and steel. Thinking about it, Kim Inon started second-guessing himself. There's no way this kid figured out an alternate method, right? Could he actually be cracked enough to pull that off? Lee Se-jun smoothly looked away, thinking, if he clocks what I'm doing again, that's 2 times in a row. It was getting pretty dark outside when Kim Inon suddenly spoke up. Class dismissed. You guys are good to go. But, student Lee Se-jun, could you hang back for a sec? Se-jun stopped in his tracks and asked, what's up, professor? Kim Inon whipped out an item and was like, here's a little welcome gift for your enrollment. You seriously saved my neck helping me move in. Right then, the system flashed info about the blood flame. Rare grade, high tier. It's this insane ore packed with the pure essence of the crimson flame. It's got this totally broken ability to melt down mixed ores straight into liquid. Se-jun acted a bit clueless and asked, wait, what exactly is this? The professor quickly explained, if you can absorb the essence from this fire gem, you'll permanently buff your crimson flame. I went out of my way to snag this since I heard you can control the blood fire. Hearing that, Se-jun just nodded with a huge grin. Thank you so much, Professor. This is totally going to be a massive power-up for me. Then Kim Inon dropped a random question. Oh, one more thing. I was wondering if you were planning on signing up for the elective course I'm teaching. Se-jun just played it cool. Are you talking about the basic equipment research class? That totally caught Kim Inon off guard. Whoa, you actually know about my class. Se-jun acted like it was no big deal. Yeah, of course I do. But inside, he was hyping it up, knowing it was one of the craziest classes heavily funded by Babel's massive budget. Se-jun started low-key freaking out. Okay, what the heck do I do now? Before I regressed, I'd literally never heard the name Kim Inon in my entire life. So honestly, this dude probably met a super messed up end in the first timeline. But right now, he's a star professor soaking up all the hype. So Se-jun just flashed a smile and said, count me in, sir. I'll totally take that class. Kim Inon looked a bit worried. Are you sure you can handle that? You've already packed your schedule with a ton of electives. But Se-jun just shrugged it off. Even with this one, it'll literally only be my 4th class, so I'm chilling. Kim Inon didn't want to push it, so he just shook Se-jun's hand and beamed. Well then, I'm super stoked to be working with you. Se-jun kept it polite. Same here, Professor. Right then, the system pinged with a notification. Extracting connection from the target, Kim Inon. The bond of the creator, Louis Se-jun, is currently at level 1. Link. Kim Inon. High-tier fire-bearing iron, lower mid-quality. It's basically a metal that literally holds fire inside of it. It acts kind of like wood, locking the flames right at its core. Se-jun started putting the pieces together. Wait, if someone has the power to rip metal straight out of another person's body, doesn't that mean they could literally forge and temper a human body too? But throwing a bunch of different elemental mana into one body, that's just begging for them to clash and self-destruct. And since a blacksmith literally needs absolute, pinpoint precision, that kind of chaos is super dangerous. That's why it's like an unwritten rule to just stick to the one attribute that fits your vibe best. But me? I'm built totally different. The internal mana I've been using to keep the heat in check is steadily dropping right to the perfect level. Once my body is completely drained of mana, it'll act like a sponge and suck the pure essence of the crimson flames straight into my core. So, as a blacksmith, my next move is to literally forge a custom mana circuit for the crimson flame, right inside my own freaking body. A minute later, Se-jun let out a massive sigh of relief. He knew that pulling this off was the only way he could actually forge from within his own body. System alert. Your elemental mana has leveled up from F-rank blood fire to E+ rank blood fire. A bunch of notifications started spamming his screen. You have unlocked the S-rank skill, Soul Forging Magic. The physical body is the most primal material a blacksmith can ever refine. By forging your internal mana circuits, your physical specs get a massive boost and your sheer strength levels up. Every single base stat shot through the roof, all thanks to the skill's crazy buff. Lee Se-jun. Strength, D15. Durability, D100. Mana, D19. Speed, E87. Lee Se-jun gritted his teeth, appraising spirit-forged magic. Seriously, he flashed back to his past life, remembering how hard he'd struggled when Leah grilled him about it. You've literally got the materials right in your hands, and you're just gonna give up without even trying to figure out what to do with them, she asked with a mocking smile. You're not an idiot. So are you really just gonna sit there and take it? Snapping back to reality, he smiled in satisfaction, his mind made up. Hell yeah. I've got to squeeze every last drop out of whatever I can get my hands on. And, honestly, whether they're an ally or an enemy. This time, I'm absolutely not going to leave room for any regrets. Meanwhile, a voice echoed through a massive stone-paved building. All right, today we're going to finish up the items you guys have been crafting in our recent classes. And heads up, these finished products are actually scheduled to be supplied both inside and outside the academy. The red-haired guy stood in front of the crowd, hands planted firmly on his hips. So it's safe to say that whatever you pull off today will totally decide how your entire first semester goes down. Because of that, give it everything you've got so you don't end up kicking yourselves later. Got it? Everyone shouted in unison. Yes, sir. Lee Se-jun stared at the iron bar in his hand, lost in thought. Man, everything is seriously a total mess right now. Since his current body couldn't keep up with his reflexes, a bunch of the fine details were completely out of whack. Gripping the hammer in one hand, he thought to himself, yeah, this definitely isn't the time for me to just chill and take it easy. Flames flared up, sending waves of heat slashing right through the area. A pot of boiling water was steaming heavily. Se-jun held the long blade in his hand, quietly examining it. Guess a result like this is decent enough. But his expression shifted into an anxious frown. With the time I have left, finishing the other stuff is going to be a massive pain. If I just half-ass everything and keep it average, I might score some extra budget support. He placed it on the grindstone. But at the end of the day, pouring my soul into making at least one top-tier item, that's the right move. His hands moved with insane speed, grinding down the iron bar as he stood there, laser-focused. That noise kept roaring in Lee Se-jun's head, a sound that felt like the literal end of the world was closing in. He locked his eyes on the blade. Every single time I hear this specific sound, I end up crafting something absolute god-tier. He channeled all his focus into it, thinking, this isn't just some temporary sharpness. This is a blade carved deep into its very soul. Flashes of light burst from below, carrying the name White Light. The specs started popping up clearly. The White Light longsword was finally complete. A legendary blacksmith always shows their true willpower through the absolute basics. The technique of an artisan who knows how to max out a material's potential to forge a new blade is totally top tier. A notification popped up. You have acquired the skill, White Light Style. 2 gleaming swords appeared right next to their stats. White Light Longsword. Rank, Rare. Quality, High. This is a long sword boasting a pure, snow-white blade. The flawlessly honed edge, combined with an insane mana alignment, makes it incredibly durable and crazy sharp. A masterpiece forged by a blacksmith with ridiculous skills. Slashing power gets a massive boost when infused with mana. Se-jun gripped his newly crafted weapon and let out a sigh of relief. Honestly, considering I only use basic iron, this result isn't too shabby. Looking at the weapon, he felt a spark of hope. My skills, from before I reversed time, they're slowly coming back to me. Even if it's just a little bit. Behind him, 2 knights holding their own swords looked super anxious, practically on the verge of tears. Ugh, I seriously hate this feeling. Should I just drop out? Saturday morning the next day, while the red-haired guy was chilling in a cafe, glued to his phone, a voice spoke up. I honestly didn't expect you to want to see my enhancement techniques. Lee Se-jun was looking around as they walked. Well, to be fair, I was actually pretty curious about your basic skills. Seems like there's a crazy amount of people hanging out here. Huh. Leo, walking right next to him, checked out the area too. Don't sweat it. My workspace is in a way quieter spot. The two of them made their way toward a super peaceful farm area. He spoke up. Isn't this place, like, a bit too far out? She shot back. Did you seriously think you could just waltz in and watch my techniques that easily? She dragged him into the Agaquef hardware store. This is the spot. She stepped inside and yelled out, Grandma. Her voice echoed, I'm here. Inside, Helena was digging her pinky into her ear, scowling. I'm not deaf. You know. Stop screaming. Se-jun followed closely behind. She looked pretty annoyed as she demanded, "Who's the punk tagging along with you? Your boyfriend?" Leah stood in front of him and replied, "No way, not a chance." He slowly cracked a smile when she added, "He's the top student of the arcane department who just enrolled this year." The old lady scoffed. Babel must really be going down the drain if they're letting in some scrawny kid like this. Then Helena pushed herself up from the table. "Name's Helena." Se-jun chimed in, "I'm Louis Valen Se-jun, a freshman in the metallurgy department." She immediately snapped, "All right, enough with the useless chit-chat. Get to work, now. We're totally swamped this week thanks to you damn freshmen." Leah rolled her eyes and sighed, Yeah, I know." The old lady pointed to the back room. "The forge is right this way." Glancing at all the items scattered around the room, Louis Valen Se-jun fell deep into thought. That old lady, her skills are way more insane than I thought. He walked behind them, carefully observing everything as his mind raced. It makes zero sense why someone at her level is running a rundown hardware store out here. Leah, walking ahead, picked up item after item, muttering, "Wow, work really is piled up like crazy." A super vibrant color palette sat on the table. This right here is the enhancement palette, and this is the powder ground up from magic stones. He stood there with his arms crossed, taking a quick glance. I know the standard is usually 8 colors, but she's actually mixing them up in a crazy variety of ways. Then he spoke up. "So, your job is to restore damaged enhancement formulas using this stuff?" Helena grabbed a paintbrush. "Spot on." She held a pan in one hand and dipped the brush into the palette with the other. "Thanks to this, I can rake in some cash while doing all the enhancing I want, without stressing over the insane cost of materials." The painted lines glowed with vibrant colors. What started out as a basic pan was instantly turning into something epic under her hands. Louis Valen Se-jun just stood there, quietly watching. He realized he only came here because it seemed like she was stuck in a massive slump with her work. A memory suddenly flashed in his mind of someone standing right in front of him, saying, "A washed-up loser who drags her failures into every single exam, and couldn't even hold on to her spot as the top student of her department." Seeing Helena so hyper-focused on her brush and pan sparked a whole new train of thought in his head, just as I thought. Now that I've seen it with my own eyes, I think I've figured out exactly why she's in this slump and how to fix it. Lost in his own thoughts, he turned and walked off. Honestly, being able to just zone out and grind like that is a total flex. With his hands shoved in his pockets in front of a wooden table, something on it totally caught Louis Valen Se-jun's eye. This thing's gonna vibe with the mana setup and trigger some crazy special effect. He leaned in to get a better look at it. I mean, it's been a hot minute since I last carved white light, so my hands are practically itching to do it. Helena was watching from behind and just said, "Go ahead, give it a shot." She frowned, crossing her arms. "Of course, if you've actually got the skills to pull it off, just pick whatever you want from that pile over there." He threw a quick glance over his shoulder, thinking, "Man, it totally feels like this old lady is just trying to boss me around." He turned his head back. If she's actually letting me use a premium whetstone of that sick quality, I've absolutely got to take it for a spin. His eyes locked right onto it, and his hand gripped the handle. She just stood back, arms crossed, watching him. "Are you seriously going to go with that one?" Louis Valen Se-jun was hyped, running his finger along the blade. "Hell yeah. Just looking at how perfectly even the wear is, and the fact that the core isn't warped at all. You can totally tell this belongs to someone who actually knows how to handle a blade." He stood at the table, gripping the whetstone, thinking to himself, as far as whetstones go, this one's got its mana particles packed together so freaking perfectly. If I use this bad boy, it'll easily handle pushing this blade to its absolute max sharpness. With some crazy smooth technique, he pressed the blade right against the stone. Helena was standing behind him, totally mind-blown, thinking, "Is this brat seriously just a freshman who enrolled this year?" Then Leah popped up from behind and hyped him up, shouting, "On, we're totally done," which scared the crap out of the old lady. Leah finally snapped to reality and jumped. "Oh, hey ma'am, wait, since when were you standing there?" Helena didn't even bother looking back. "I have no freaking clue." "This brat." Leah sidled up next to her, giving her a knowing look. "You totally tried to nitpick the newbie, but he just ended up schooling you instead, didn't he?" Helena forcefully shoved her back, getting super defensive. "Would you just shut your trap?" She glared over at Louis Valen Se-jun, who was kind of just standing there. "Well, are you done playing around or what?" He just smirked and shot back. "For now, this is the absolute best I can pull off. Next time, I'm gonna crush it even harder." Helena suddenly slammed the sword down hard. "All right, fine. Both of you, brats, just get out of here and go home already." Leah grabbed onto his arm and dragged him outside, tossing his side-eye back into the shop. "Ugh, she's just throwing a tantrum for no reason. Let's bounce." Back inside, The old lady was standing with her hands on her hips, right where he'd been working. Suddenly, some dude in a slick suit started banging on the door. "Hey sis, are you hammering away in there?" Helena peeked out, scowling hardcore. "Keep your voice down, will you?" The guy nervously scratched his head, looking pretty awkward. "Look, our order backlog is getting completely out of hand. What's the deal with that kitchen knife?" He started losing his cool and just went off. "When the hell are you gonna quit messing around with that restaurant gig? Seriously, someone who was supposed to be a top-tier combat professor is doing this?" She totally snapped back at him. "Stop whining about other people's hobbies, would you?" The dude just barged in and picked up the blade left on the table. "Oh, here it is." But then he felt something crazy off about it. He frowned and spun around to face her. "Dude, sis, were you seriously getting wasted while sharpening this thing again?" She just stood there, arms crossed, looking down. "I didn't even touch it." He kept pushing. "Then what? Is this the work of those assistant kids you've been hanging out with lately? Their skills must have leveled up like crazy to pull this off." Helena kept her head down, eyes shut, and just muttered, "It was a freshman." The guy whipped his head around, looking absolutely shook. "Wait, what?" She finally opened her eyes and said, "Some newbie kid who just got admitted this year is the one who sharpened it." Flashing back to the kid's face, the guy muttered to himself, "Who the hell is this absolute monster?" Meanwhile, Lee Se-jun was walking outside and just randomly asked, "So, that old lady at the hardware shop, was she seriously a former professor in the metallurgy department?" Leah, strolling right next to him, nodded. "Yeah, totally. I heard she retired like 5 years ago and moved out to the boondocks to run that shop." He side-eyed her and asked, "You think there's some shady backstory behind all that?" She shrugged, glancing back. "Beats me. Probably nothing too crazy, honestly." The massive academy loomed in the background as she kept spilling the tea. Over the last 5 years, a whole bunch of professors have just straight up dipped from the metallurgy department. He looked over at her, raising an eyebrow. "Oh, for real?" Se-jun's brain was working in overdrive. Considering this entire department is doomed to become the absolute garbage tier of Babel in the future. Yeah, this is definitely some drama I can't just ignore. Leah bumped his shoulder, putting a hand on her chest. "Okay, but forget that. More importantly, what you think of my enhancement skills back there?" He blinked, totally caught off guard, and looked down at her. "I mean, your basics are solid. Gotta give you that." It was pretty decent. She immediately got this massive, cocky grin. "Oh, stop it. It wasn't even that big of a deal." But then he totally killed the vibe, deadpanning. "That being said, your mindset is still way too freaking narrow." The mood instantly plummeted as Leah jumped right in front of him, blocking his path. "Excuse me, what the hell did you just say?" Se-jun pointed right in her face. "You literally came up with way better methods in your head, but you totally chickened out of using them." She started stammering, completely shook. "How? How did you even catch that?" Leah looked like her entire world just crashed, hanging her head as she took the brutal feedback. "Look, if you're just clueless, you can always learn. But if you know the right move and still choke, now that's a massive red flag. A craftsman's imagination is their ultimate weapon, their straight-up God-given talent, and you're out here nerfing yourself." She looked completely crushed. "Do you honestly think I do things this way just because I don't get it?" Se-jun just gave her a look, let out a massive sigh, and started digging around inside his jacket. Then he casually whipped out a sword, which totally made her jump. "I've got places to be, so I can't show off for long. Keep your eyes glued to this. All right." He started dropping some deep analogy about a rock underwater. "Okay, let's say someone tells you to sink a stone to the bottom of a lake. Forging the rock and tossing it in, that's the blacksmith's job." The vision in her head started getting hazy. But taking that visual of the sinking rock and carving it directly into the water itself, that is the real art of enhancement. That's exactly why enhancing something is basically like manipulating a literal dream. Suddenly, a blade materialized, glowing with this insane, blood-red fiery aura swirling all around it. The sword hovered right in front of her face, catching her completely off guard, radiating this sick white light aura and insane energy. It looked so freaking overpowered. "Stop just scratching the surface. You've got to inject that enhancement deep into the weapon's actual core." He stared down at the blade in his hand, watching the raw energy spiraling around it. "If one layer isn't packing enough of a punch, then slice it up and stack it into multiple tiers." Se-jun swung his arm down hard. "When you pull it off like this," he stepped back and violently hurled the blade, burying it straight into the dirt. The weapon slammed deep into the earth. It was like time literally froze around that absolute flex of power. He looked down, getting all serious for a sec. "I mean, I can't really say this is the textbook way to enhance something, but if it's Leah," seeing her standing there, rubbing her chin in deep thought, just confirmed his theory. Crazy geniuses like her usually just figure out their own path, even when they're totally second-guessing themselves. Suddenly, Leah started freaking out, pointing wildly at the blade. "Hey, newbie, let me borrow that for a sec. Seriously, you've got to let me borrow it." She literally hung off Lee Se-jun like a freaking swing set, begging, "I swear I'll make it totally perfect before I give it back. Please. Oh my god, please." He was low-key sweating bullets as he handed the item over. "Whatever, I don't care," he muttered. "But if you're taking that, just take this thing too." She literally jumped up and down like she just got proposed to or something. "Thanks a million. You're literally the best." And just like that, she dipped, leaving him standing there all by himself. Lee Se-jun let out a huge sigh of relief when a system ping popped up, saying a connection with Leah Claudel was linking up. Connection level with creator Lee Se-jun has reached level 1. He just shook his head and muttered, "Man, she's such a kid." Standing in the middle of the crazy crowded campus, Lee Se-jun looked around, thinking to himself, "Finally, today's the day I actually get to see one of the Three Hounds in person. A freaking epic showdown between the mad dog and the demon god of extinction back in their glory days." He remembered Erica trailing right behind him, distracting him. But more importantly, he finally snapped and asked, "The hell are you doing?" She gave him this totally creepy whisper, "Just following you. Duh." He rolled his eyes. "And if I tell you to get lost right now, are you actually gonna leave?" She stepped up right next to him. "Sure, I will. I mean, I can always just spy on you from a distance anyway." Lee Se-jun threw a side-eye over his shoulder, letting out a heavy sigh. "Yeah. Figured you'd say some weird stalker crap like that." He walked ahead. "Come on, let's just go inside." A sick item called the Frozen Snowstone popped up with a description. Link established with Erica's social pact. Rarity, rare. Quality, average. It's this refined artificial magic ore that totally chills out chaotic mana when you mix it with other minerals. Then another magic rock showed up with a ping. Linked to Leah Claudel's complex explosive core. Rarity, rare. Quality, top tier. It's this dope, jagged ore, all swirled up with crazy colors. Acts like a killer amplifier to max out the hidden potential of mixed materials. Out in the massive stadium, Jian popped up on the big screen looking all cute and peppy. A huge, warm welcome to all the fresh meat at Babel Academy. Welcome to the one and only, world-famous martial arts arena. Sending my absolute best vibes to everyone tuning into today's epic ranking match. She struck a pose and threw a cheeky wink at the camera. "I'm the youngest professor in the martial arts department, and I'll be your hype man and commentator for today. The name's Jian Fang." As the spotlights blasted down, her voice echoed through the stadium. "All right, enough waiting around. Let's meet the absolute beasts throwing down today." The tall silhouette of a badass chick appeared under the blazing lights. First up on this side, the senior valedictorian representing the Agawif sector. And yeah, she's also the future boss of the Myers family, literally the factory for S-class heroes. The girl totally owned it, tossing her shiny blonde hair back with major attitude. An absolute flawless superhuman who's been smashing records left and right, sitting pretty at the #1 spot in the arena for 3 whole years. She's an active A-class hero and our reigning champ. Her super pretty face hit the screen, revealing none other than the Sword Saint herself. The absolute legend who finally conquered the peak of the hero tower, Arya Myers. The crowd went totally wild. While up in the stands, Lee Se-jun and Erica were just chilling with their arms crossed, looking down at the hype. "Oh my god, Arya, step on me. You're literally glowing." Over the screaming fanboys, Jian Fang hyped it up. And now, the crazy dude brave enough to challenge our champion today. The spotlight slammed onto some guy with a massive spear slung across his back. The living, breathing cultural heritage of the Han Baumut Kingdom, and the sole heir to the blazing wheel ember spear technique, the junior valedictorian of the spearmanship department, and the hottest pick for the arena's top 10. Lee Se-jun stared down at him, thinking, about time our paths finally crossed. Man. The guy just stood there flexing his crazy aura, the mad dog. Jan screamed out his name, Yom Seon-ha. He spun his spear, ripping out straight fire, freezing the blade literally an inch from smashing into the floor. Across the ring, Arya smoothly flexed her sword skills, launching a totally sick strike that forced him to leap backward. He gritted his teeth, visibly struggling to hold his ground. His grip was crazy tight on his spear shaft. Arya's eyes flashed with this hardcore, terrifying glare. Then, literal rings of fire started swirling around her like crazy, looking dead set on roasting Seon-ha alive. Watching from above, Lee Se-jun was low-key judging. Even giving him a pass for being a kid, he's still way off the benchmark. Is he seriously not getting the top-tier backup he deserves as the heir to the blazing wheel ember spear? Seon-ha pulled his hand back into a fighting stance, his mind racing. There's a bunch of sketchy stuff going on here. But the biggest joke is that trash gear he's rocking. Out of nowhere, Se-jun literally tossed his gear aside and got ready to just rush her raw. Whoosh! A razor-sharp blade slid right past his throat. Se-jun stood there looking totally spooked by the steel hovering right at his neck, before dropping his voice real low. I forfeit. Arya cheerfully lowered her sword. You put up a solid fight, dude. And the match is officially over. Your ultimate winner is Arya Myers. The two of them stood up on the main stage. Jian, gripping the mic across from them, kept the hype train rolling. Alright guys, next up is our live post-match interview with both of these epic fighters. Well, that was the plan anyway. But it looks like student Se-jun had to bail early for some super sudden reasons. She covered her mouth with a little giggle. Honestly, having to go head-to-head with the number 9 rank right off the bat is a bit much, even for me. Se-jun just quietly ghosted while all the flashy lights dumped onto Arya. So, how about I just fill this dead air with a little spicy live Q&A session with yours truly? The crowd up there went absolutely feral, screaming, "Hell yeah, we're down." Up in the bleachers, Lee Se-jun squinted, thinking to himself, man, that dude looks seriously pissed off. He randomly stood up, making Erica snap her head over. Wait, you're literally just gonna ditch before the whole thing's over? He jammed his hands into his pockets and shrugged. Yep, I'm really not vibing with that kind of fighting style anyway. He started walking off, tossing over his shoulder. Look at her down there. She looks totally antsy just standing around. Huh. Erica looked back at him, low-key stressing out. Well, thank God he didn't come here just to see my brother, she thought. But seriously, why was he throwing such a massive fit? Suddenly, a voice popped up right next to her out of nowhere. An interesting freshman? Huh? Wait. Since when was Arya standing right there, looking behind her? Her orange eyes sparked with total hope as she said, looks like I might have just found someone exactly like that. Se-jun was out meditating in this park right by the martial arts arena. Lee Se-jun rolled up super quiet, thinking, okay, so present-day Se-jun is alive and kicking. Good to know. Se-jun was busy replaying all those flashy-ass power moves in his head. Even if the guy's got the temper of a rabid dog, he was still an absolute core carry for the Suicide Squad. And he was the total badass who literally sacrificed his own life to wipe out the demon god of annihilation. Se-jun stood right behind him, thinking, well, that's because he hasn't gone completely off the deep end yet. Maybe snagging his link stone is going to be way smoother this time around. Meanwhile, Se-jun was just sitting there, scowling at the ground. You were totally spying on that sparring match earlier, weren't you? Lee Se-jun kept his hands jammed in his pockets and just went, yeah. I caught a bit of the show. Se-jun tilted his head back just enough to look at him. The fact that you even managed to track me down here proves you aren't just some random scrub. Se-jun shot him a nasty glare. You again? What the hell is the magic department's top student doing in a place like this? He stood there, wondering, man, why is he acting so pissed off? Then he spoke up, look, I just came here hoping we could talk things out for a sec. But the guy just turned away. Get the hell out of my sight. Se-jun slowly stepped closer. This is actually going to do you a huge favor, senior. He suddenly sat down, scowling. Guess you're not getting it, so I'm only going to say this once. I absolutely despise the weak. Don't just stand there in my face, especially if you're one of those losers who can't even do a single thing right. And that goes double for the idiots who actually think their pathetic little tricks put them on my level. So whatever the hell you want to talk about, just drop it and go back. Then, he dropped a line that left him completely speechless. You lowly blacksmith trash. That brought back memories of what Se-jun used to do back in the day. Go back to your little workshop and forge some gear. Know your damn place and stay in your lane. But honestly, that didn't really bother him. Compared to his old mad dog days, the guy was practically being polite right now. Lee Se-jun gathered magic in the palm of his hand, thinking to himself, looking at that attitude, there's no way we're settling this with just words. Se-jun also glanced back. Looks like you just don't know when to quit, huh? He marched right up to where Se-jun was casting his spell and declared, let me give you a piece of advice too. What happened next completely caught him off guard. The legacy of the Blazing Wheel's Ember Spear is going to end right here, by my hands. Hearing that, Se-jun charged forward like a rocket. He clenched his fist tight, unleashing his power. But his punch flying straight at Lee Se-jun was dead stopped by Se-jun's own power. A system alert popped up right as he was blasted backward. The link mark of greed has been successfully activated. He frowned in total confusion, thinking, did this kid seriously just neutralize my magic-enhanced punch? Sparks of fire swirled around Se-jun as he locked his focus entirely on the boy. Guess he didn't get that top student title for nothing. Maybe he actually does have what it takes to stand here and talk to me after all. His vibe instantly got way more intense, but the fiery trail of the ember magic was still lingering in the air. Now this is the true power of the Blazing Wheel's ember spear. It all ends right here. The two of them rushed straight at each other. Se-jun sparked up a massive blaze, just hurling fire right at Yeom-seon-ha. Thick smoke completely swallowed him up before he slowly stepped out from the haze. Meanwhile, from a distance, the guy looked totally shocked. What the? Why the hell are those flames, which only react to my magic, resting right there in his hands? Don't tell me this terrifying energy coming at me. Did he actually break down my magic and steal it? Suddenly, a spark grazed right past his neck. Staring straight ahead, he seethed, "You absolute bastard." Yeom-seon-ha dropped into a fighting stance, practically radiating purple energy, which got Se-jun thinking. Man, this guy looks like he's about to totally snap and lose his mind. It flashed him back to the image of a pink-haired dude resting a weapon on his shoulder in front of the disaster gate at the Fire Flower sect. That hot-headed temper is probably exactly why that whole mess blew up back then. The guy was winding up for another punch. It came flying in with pinpoint accuracy, making Se-jun panic for a second. Crap. The effect of the Mark of Greed is about to wear off, and my stamina is totally maxed out. Just as the fist was about to smash into Louis Valen Se-jun's face, the timer on the Mark of Greed ran out, and his body just couldn't hold up any longer. It fell as if gravity had just checked out. At that exact second, the incoming punch was caught dead in its tracks, leaving Yeom-seon-ha totally stunned. But nope, it wasn't Se-jun, it was Jack, who desperately shoved his way in to block the hit, making the guy flinch. Jack Myers. He immediately snapped, "Do you actually know this magic department top student or what?" Jack stammered out, "Yeah, we kinda know each other." Hearing that, he yanked his arm back. Walking away, his tone dropped way lower. "Get the hell out of here, now." Jack Myers awkwardly shouted at the top of his lungs, "Yes, sir." Then he turned to him. "Se-jun, dude, we gotta bounce, right now." Se-jun was still glaring over there, while Jack looked absolutely pale with fear. "Burn what I said into your brain. And don't ever spout that kind of weird crap again. Now hurry up and get out of my sight." Over on the other side, Yeom-seon-ha stood all alone, deep in thought. "I totally lost my cool just now and threw a punch. One more second, and I would have completely trashed the honor of the Blazing Wheel's ember spear and caused a huge mess for my master." He cast his gaze downward. Down on the street, Jack was walking ahead of Se-jun. What the hell was going through your head, picking a fight with a senior like him? If I hadn't stepped in when I did, you'd literally be dead meat right now. Louis Valen Se-jun lowered his head and let out a sigh of relief. Me? Dead. As if I'd go down that easily. Jack walked beside him, practically sweating bullets. "Wait, what did you just say?" A system alert suddenly popped up right in front of Se-jun's eyes. A connection with the target Yeom-seon-ha has been successfully established. He shrugged it off and said, "I was honestly just throwing out some threats back there." His real thoughts, however, were already racing ahead. The next step is to extract the Link Stone. He pictured Yeom-seon-ha's savage fighting style from the past, but still, the guy I used to know was literally the mad dog Yeom-seon-ha. If he's still acting this soft right now, the effect of the Link Stone might end up totally different. I need to figure out a way to boost my connection level with him. Then he glanced over at Jack, smirking internally. Even so, this idiot looks like he's going to be pretty damn useful. He checked in on him. "Hey, your hand take any damage from that?" Jack beamed brightly, pointing right at the scrape on his palm. "Nah, I'm good. My hands are tough as nails, you know." Louis Valen Se-jun side-eyed him as they walked, scoffing in his head. "Tough as nails? What a freaking joke." Suddenly, Jack turned to him, getting all serious. "But more importantly, what the heck did you say about my sister back at the arena?" Se-jun looked a bit surprised. "You mean Arya Myers?" Jack nodded. "Yeah, her." Se-jun just shrugged. "Wasn't even a big deal. Just said she seemed a little full of herself, that's all." Jack Myers immediately clutched his head in absolute sheer terror. "You said what? No wonder she kept grilling me nonstop about you." Louis Valen Se-jun just stood there, picturing Arya. She's definitely got her eyes on me now. Se-jun's expression turned ice cold as he remembered the woman they were talking about. Jack rambled on. "My sister's definitely starting to pay attention to you, dude." Somewhere else, the sister in question, Arya, was flashing a knowing smile. He sighed in total disbelief. How the hell did she even hear that over such a loud, crazy crowd? Talk about freakish hearing. Jack tried his best to plead with him. "Please, just keep your voice down next time, all right? My sister is literally an A-rank hero, you know." Louis Valen Se-jun shoved his hands into his pockets, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "Honestly, if it's just some innocent little crush, I'm totally down to entertain it." He glanced over at Jack, who was stressing out so hard he was practically ripping his own hair out, and started plotting. Yeom Se-jun's biggest obsession right now is probably taking down Arya. If I can snatch the attention of his biggest rival, my own influence is naturally going to shoot through the roof. Jack shot him an exhausted look and let out a heavy sigh. Dude, seriously, don't brush this off like it's nothing. Dude, you have no idea what my sister is really like. But before he could even finish, Lee Se-jun just cut right in with his savage reply. A petty, scheming control freak, right? Jack Myers physically jumped, frantically looking around. Hey man, maybe don't use such hardcore words. His face suddenly went totally deadpan. Lee Se-jun just clammed up when Jack asked, seriously though, why do you have such massive beef with my sister? Picture this. A blonde chick decked out in armor, gripping a badass black sword that's the sword saint Arya Myers. She was standing there like an absolute queen, staring down a massive horde of monsters. That blade used to be super dull and lifeless. But right under this pitch-black moon, Arya spread her wings and hoisted that sword straight up into the sky. Then one day, that legendary sword saint just vanished. Poof, gone. And the one who showed up after was the psycho who turned a demon god's holy relic into their own personal weapon, the light-shattering demon god. Standing in the shadows, Lee Se-jun just let out this dry little smirk. Just looking at her face screams pure drama. Then he casually strolled off, doing a half-ass wave goodbye. I'm out. Jack just stood there completely dumbfounded, trying to process it. What the heck just happened? Then his phone suddenly buzzed, snapping him out of it. Glaring at the screen, he saw a text from his sister, Arya Myers. Looks like my little bro just made a super interesting new friend. You better spill all the tea to me later. Jack read it and legit panicked. Wait, does she mean I'm stuck playing middleman between these two psychos from now on? Suddenly, his eyes locked onto the screen and his face went totally ghost white. Arya sent another text that was creepy as hell. Your petty, scheming control freak of a sister is asking you for a teeny tiny favor. Jack was left standing all alone on the street, looking absolutely wrecked as he stared at his phone. Oh, screw my life. Cut to the next morning at a lecture hall in Babel Academy. Lee Se-jun was chilling in class, rubbing his shoulder because it was stinging like crazy. Man, did I go a little too hard beefing with Yeom Se-jun yesterday? Han, who was sitting at the desk right in front of him, muttered, the schedule for the meetup is dropping soon. Professor Reese came literally zooming into the classroom on this tiny little scooter, waving a cane around and screaming, shut your mouths and settle down. He rolled up to the front, pointed his cane right at us, and just spit-fired his intro. I'm Professor Reese. I'll be running your major classes for the next 2 weeks. We're going to be hyper-focusing on attribute refinement. Every single student in that room took one look at the guy and lost all the color in their faces. They were all thinking the exact same thing. This dude is the legendary crazy professor. But Professor Reese just kept his cool and went into total dead serious mode. Before we dive in, I've got an announcement. You guys better take full advantage of this shot and drop your homework on my desk by next Thursday. First up, David. David practically jumped out of his skin and yelled, yes, sir, right here. The tiny Professor Reese was just casually chilling on his scooter, holding a piece of paper. And the last guy on the roster is Lee Se-jun. Hearing his name, he popped up. Han, sitting up front, gave a side eye and whispered, yo, isn't everyone dying to know how much cash this dude is gonna rake in? The guy sitting next to him was totally vibing with that. I swear, his payout is probably gonna be like 3 times whatever I'm getting. Then Professor Reese suddenly boomed out to the whole class. As for Mr. Lee Se-jun's budget, yeah, that hasn't been officially greenlit yet. Se-jun was totally caught off guard. Wait, what did you just say? He had purposely let his bangs cover his eyes just because everyone kept roasting his old haircut for being totally tragic and outdated. Professor Reese stayed super chill, just stroking his long white beard. It's because the project you turned in was an absolute masterpiece. It totally smashed our expectations, so the Academy actually decided to throw it into the public auction for the sophomores this Wednesday. He just kept spilling the details. So, we're going to base your final budget entirely on whatever insane winning bid it gets. Just sit tight and wait a little longer. Lee Se-jun just stood there, scowling and doing the math in his head. Is this Vice Principal Michael pulling strings again? That old sneak is totally doing this on purpose to mess with my stuff. His brain was going a mile a minute over it. But wait, if there was some super shady crap going down, Professor Kim In-on would have totally stepped in and vetoed it right away. So he just nodded and talked back to the old guy. Got it, I track what's going on. Honestly, Professor Reese didn't even look that scary anymore as he waved his hand to jump into the next part of the lecture. All right, today's deep dive is going to be all about residual mana. And we've actually got a top-tier student who volunteered to help me run this hardcore practical session. Come on in. And dude, it was literally Yeom Se-jun. He swaggered right into the classroom right on cue with Professor Reese's hype intro. Meet my temp TA, Se-jun Ha, junior at Babel Academy, majoring in spearmanship. The student next to Se-jun practically shouted in shock. Bro, what is a legend like him doing crashing our class? Everyone was suddenly hyping up the lecture like a bunch of simps seeing a supermodel. Se-jun Ha just posted up next to the professor, who jumped right back into teaching mode. All right, enough with the fanboying. We've got to lock down the core concepts before we even touch the practical stuff. He pointed to these glowing, orb-like things they use in weapon crafting. The physical form of residual mana is basically split into two main types. Type 1, your basic rechargeable battery kind. Type 2, the standalone kind, which literally generates its own mana or sucks it straight out of the air. Both have their pros and cons, but pulling off that standalone type is insanely freaking hard. Professor Reese dropped the theory with this heavy, serious tone. Why? Because building a mana core doesn't come with a standard instruction manual. It completely changes based on your materials, your technique, and the personal mana vibe of whoever's crafting it. He glanced over at Se-jun Ha, which is exactly why you rookies are starting with the basic rechargeable type. Assistant, show him how it's done. Se-jun Ha curled his hand, totally flexing as this sick crimson mana flared up. Next thing we knew, an actual stream of red energy was just floating right there in the classroom. Fire-type magic is notorious for blowing up in your face, making it super sketchy to use as residual mana. But this guy somehow shaped two blazing red streaks that perfectly looped into an arc. But if you can actually tame that explosive nature, it acts like a god-tier storage unit, Professor Reese explained while Se-jun Ha kept running the simulation. The perfect example is the stunt my TA is pulling off right now, the blazing spear wheel residual flame. Han watched the whole thing, absolutely paralyzed with shock. Dude, how was he micromanaging fire mana on that level? The kid sitting next to him was just as blown away. Man, just trying not to blow up a basic furnace is already way too much for me. Up on the podium, Professor Reese held up this gadget. Since we hit the jackpot with such a cracked TA today, you guys better squeeze every ounce of value out of this session. Make sure you hand in your assignments by next Thursday. The guy's requirements were literally plastered all over the whiteboard. The theme, you gotta use leftover fire mana to charge up something that looks like a flaming wheel. He kept nagging us about the details. You guys can create whatever the hell you want, as long as you stick to the theme. Reese was sitting on his little cart, looking super hyped as he kept twirling his stick. All right, let's hustle over to the refining room right now. Oh, right, don't forget to change your clothes, guys. After the teacher bailed, Se-jun Ha was the only one left standing there. The other students suddenly jumped to their feet. This was the chance. Han and a bunch of other guys were all thinking the exact same thing. This was a golden opportunity to talk to the senior, Se-jun Ha. Totally pumped, he reached out his hand and broke the ice. Hey, senior. He looked all polite and was even about to introduce himself. I am Han. But before he could even finish, a seriously dark, heavy vibe exploded out of Se-jun Ha. Get the hell out of my face. Han didn't dare stick around and scurried off looking totally crushed. Why yes, sir. The whole vibe of the classroom instantly tanked. Se-jun Ha just stood, frozen in place, face totally deadpan, with his eyes squeezed shut. Suddenly, those razor-sharp eyes snapped open and locked onto someone. Just as Lee Se-jun was casually strolling out of the classroom, totally ignoring the drama, the senior spoke up. Lee Se-jun stopped in his tracks as a question was thrown his way. What exactly do you know about me? The senior's jacked, muscular body was literally radiating a swirling red mana. I heard your mastery of the fading flare flame wheel is all about the number of fire wheels you can pump out. Leon, the current head of the Flower Fire Clan and an A-class hero, hit 8 wheels. Lee Se-jun slowed his walk toward the door and tossed him an answer. Since the 3 wheels you just whipped up looked like child's play, if you actually did it right, you could totally hold 6 wheels at the exact same time. Se-jun Ha quickly chased after him, calling out to his back, hold on. So what if I can? Lee Se-jun suddenly dropped a line that made the guy freeze dead in his tracks. You actually reached the 7th wheel before, didn't you? He casually shoved his hands into his pockets, calling him out. But then, one day, you just couldn't hold onto it anymore. Se-jun Ha stood behind him, literally shaking with rage as he glared at the kid's back. How the hell does this punk know that when I haven't even told my own master? His face went ice cold, and the words practically hissed from his lips. Look, man, I've got a bit of a knack for controlling fire. But when I watched you flexing your flames, something felt seriously off. You can't even fully detonate the leftover energy. Or, honestly, it's more like you're just letting it go wild and blow up in your face. Se-jun Ha got right up in his face and demanded, do you know what is causing it? His face completely blanked out, eyes wide as saucers. When he heard, "Yeah, I've got a few solid guesses," but the very next words out of the kid's mouth totally crushed his hopes. "But honestly, I don't see any reason why I should tell you." Yeom Se-ha blurted out, totally dumbfounded. "What the?" He stood there, clenching his fists hard at his sides. "Just name your price." Lee Se-jun didn't hold back at all, just held up one index finger. "First, you gotta pay a totally fair price for every piece of advice and help I give you." Then a second finger popped up. "Second, whenever you are facing a tough call, you have to run it by me first." The second Lee Se-jun finished talking, he just started walking away. "Let me know your answer before we step foot into the refining room." From behind him, Yeom Se-ha didn't even hesitate or think it over. He answered instantly, "Deal." But his voice was dead serious as he laid down his own condition, "assuming you can actually prove it." Cut to a different place, it was afternoon over at the forge. In this zone, a bunch of guys wearing the exact same crappy uniforms were grinding away. Lee Se-jun was super focused, using tongs to shove something into the blazing furnace. "Wait, is this dude seriously crafting, without even drawing up a blueprint? Are you telling me he thinks he doesn't even need to test it first?" The hand-picked stones sitting inside the roasting furnace were fire attribute and dark attribute ores, mixed at a 7-to-3 ratio. A couple of haters walked up behind his busy back and started whispering, "Yo, if he just blindly shoves all that in there, won't all the elemental mana just completely fizzle out? Why the hell is the top student pulling such a crazy stunt?" His eyes didn't waver for a second. He was purely focused on calculating every move. The heat was cranked up until the elemental mana actually started leaking out. Lee Se-jun quickly ripped off his glove. He shoved his bare hand straight into the freaking fire, manipulating the mana flames to lock down those escaping attributes. It was the heat replacement technique. Reese was sweating bullets as he watched from the sidelines. He is already pulling off heat replacement this early. No wonder Professor Kim In-on approved his public auction request. A slick, cocky smirk crept onto the corner of Lee Se-jun's mouth. To normal people, it just looked like your standard, run-of-the-mill heat replacement. But to Yeom Se-ha, it had to look like a completely different world opening up. The guy was just watching in dead silence, eyes wide open. "Watch closely, man." His black shoe tapped the pedal, slamming the toe down. A burst of red fire mana, streaked with pitch black, just exploded outward. The fire mana that was bleeding out got sucked straight back in. Meanwhile, the dark mana that was digging deep inside got shoved right to the surface. By doing this, the balance between the two clashing manas was totally locked in, forming one flawless circle. Yeom Se-ha stood there with his arms crossed, looking intensely focused but kind of let down. "Wait, is that seriously it?" The pupils in Lee Se-jun's eyes were literally spinning like fire wheels. "My second mana attribute was always taboo, because everyone thought it messed up the fading flare flame wheel." Yeom Se-ha still looked super lost, his eyes all bugged out as he scratched his head. "Man, if I tried using it like that, I'd crash all the way down to a level 5 wheel." Lee Se-jun was actually stunned when he heard that. "Wait, what?" Yeom Se-ha fired up 5 wheels right in front of his face and explained, "I managed to perfect the dark fire wheel, but I just don't have the juice to maintain a 6th. Lee Se-jun still had to give the guy some credit. "Well, whatever. 5 dark fire wheels are still way more badass than 7 regular ones." He looked pretty bummed out, squeezing his eyes shut before spinning around. The Flower Fire clan regularly sends instructors out to test the skills of the successors running around in the real world. A massive, pitch-black circle materialized for the fire mana to pass through, and if anyone drops below a level 6 wheel, they get stripped of their successor title. Lee Se-jun gave 0 craps and tossed out a lazy fix. "Then just do it the old-school way for this test, dude." Yeom Se-ha gloomily conjured a tiny circle in the palm of his hand. "Yeah, that's not gonna work anymore." The black mana practically violently exploded out from behind the fire wheel. "My dark mana. It is completely out of control now." Lee Se-jun pinched his forehead, already feeling a migraine coming on. "When exactly is this instructor showing up?" Yeom Se-ha dropped the bomb instantly. "Tomorrow." He brought a hand up to his chin. He squinted, looking off into the distance, lost in thought. He used to say that losing his spot as the heir meant getting instantly expelled, a method we can pull off in just a single day. Suddenly, he slammed his hand onto Se-ha's shoulder. "Hey, man." Se-jun looked super hyped as he dropped a question right then and there. "If your spot as the heir is completely safe, can you actually pull something off?" He replied with a dead serious, short answer, "Yeah, I can." His eyes shifted back to that intense glare. "Awesome." Se-jun flashed a smirk and whipped out a red darkstone. Linking Se-ha. Max tier, high-grade red resonance darkstone. It's an ore where fire and dark mana actually coexist. The wavelength these two elements create will totally resonate with your inner mana. First things first, we're swapping out your weapon. Se-jun then dragged him over to what looked like a super premium room. This was the Academy's private training hall. Only guys in the top 100 of the dojo or the top 30 of their departments are even allowed to use it. Se-jun stepped inside and let out a heavy sigh. What a total show-off. He tapped right onto the glowing blue screen. You can change the interface in here too, right? I'm gonna tweak this a bit. Both of them just stood there, watching the whole interface shift right before their eyes. Se-jun took one look, pointed at it, and started teasing Se-jun. The Flame Blossom Sect theme, are you seriously that homesick bro? He played it cool and explained, my master sent it to me, so I just throw it on every now and then. Se-jun whipped out the Darkstone, staring at it super hyped to get to work. Alright then, let's start crafting your training gear. With just a casual little flick, that Darkstone snapped perfectly in half, linking the max tier high-grade Red Resonance Darkstone, an ore where fire and dark mana actually coexist. The wavelength these two elements create will totally resonate with your inner mana. A long, wickedly sharp weapon was instantly forged. All done. Se-jun grabbed the two spears, eyeing them with pretty obvious hesitation. He was already clumsy enough with one spear, and now he had to dual-wield two of them. Se-jun, on the other hand, acted like it was no big deal at all. This setup is way better for controlling two different types of mana. Se-jun stood right across from him, hands on his hips, pointing and throwing out instructions. From now on, I want you to spawn a fire wheel with your left hand and blast out dark mana with your right. Hearing that, he looked completely caught off guard. Wait, just blast it out? He nodded hard. Yep, exactly. Se-jun shut his eyes, taking a sec to chill out. When they snapped open, his gaze was crazy sharp. Gripping a spear in each hand, he spun them in a full circle. Se-jun suddenly slammed on the brakes when he realized mana was leaking out of the spear. Looking totally clueless, he held the spear up and just stared at it. What the heck was that? Se-jun casually pointed right at it and broke it down for him. It means you accidentally let your dark mana spill over into your left hand. Dude. He could literally feel the mana radiating off the spear. Different types of mana mixing and leaking out is totally natural, but in your case, it's such a massive mess that they're basically canceling each other out. It's probably because you've been doing nothing but suppressing your dark mana this whole time. Se-jun snapped a bracelet right onto his wrist. So, if you actually manage to get used to handling both types of mana at the exact same time, you'll hit the sixth wheel super fast. Keep this thing on while you're training too. Se-jun stared at the bracelet on his wrist and let out a little smirk. You've got some seriously sick gear, huh? After that, he went crazy with the spears, drilling through all kinds of stances nonstop. 3 solid hours of grinding went by. Se-jun stood off to the side, watching with a hyped little smile at how fast he was progressing. Damn. He adapts ridiculously fast. Was it because this was literally a training routine his own future self cooked up? You could feel it in every cell of his body reacting with the surrounding mana, proving just how insanely talented his past version really was. The rhythm of his breathing, the flex of his muscles, the way he shifted his center of gravity, and that wild mana wave surging through his entire body before blasting right out of the spearhead. Se-jun caught him staring and looked totally curious. What the heck are you staring at? Se-jun rested his chin on both hands, acting all innocent. What do you think? I'm just gathering data, man. He was taking a breather, wiping the sweat off his cheek, when he suddenly froze up. I need it so I can craft the absolute best weapon for you. Se-jun slumped back in his chair, totally chill. I'm literally just making this for a class assignment, so don't get your hopes up. Se-jun turned his face away, scoffing. Like anyone would actually look forward to a weapon made by a freshman. But Se-jun couldn't just sit still. He glanced over and caught Se-jun fiercely swinging both spears, bringing them crashing down from above with insane power. Is there some big reason why you absolutely have to lock down that air position? Without even turning around, he just dropped a blunt answer. My master wants me to become the sect leader. He just stood there, letting the twin spears hang loose by his sides. His voice was totally deadpan. So, as his disciple, I'm literally just following his wishes. The guy who took in the orphan Yom Se-jun, adopted him, and actually raised him was none other than an S-rank hero, the very first sect leader of the Flame Blossom sect. There was even a framed photo on the wall, clearly showing the guy's face and his name, Ion. Back in the day, he used to sit right next to a little Se-jun, ruffling his hair and teaching him the ropes. Even though the old man completely lost his powers and had to retire after a nasty injury, as both a master and a father figure, he obviously still held massive influence over this dude. Se-jun buried his face in his hands, squeezing his eyes shut as a memory of the three of them meeting flashed through his mind. Hey, let's all try to get along, okay? Level 3 linkage rate, yeah. Se-jun narrowed his eyes, getting straight to the point. I want to know exactly why you're helping me. Se-jun furrowed his brows super hard, shutting his eyes tight as he weighed his words. It was that exact same bleak, ruined wasteland stretching all the way from the dead forests straight into the ruined cities of the 6 great demon realms, places totally swallowed up by the swamp of chaos, now absolutely crawling with demonic beasts. Se-jun slouched in his chair, swinging his legs over the armrest, facing him head-on. I'm planning on raiding every single one of those demon zones. To actually pull that off, I'm gonna need some heavy hitters to watch my back, and I need top-tier materials to craft weapons for those guys. Without even missing a beat, he threw up an insanely cocky okay hand sign. If you end up becoming the next sect leader of the Flame Blossom sect, your skills and bank account should be pretty stacked, right? Seeing him act like that, Se-jun was just totally speechless. You're so freaking materialistic. Se-jun's face instantly dropped into a dead serious scowl. Well, duh. We barely even know each other. Why the hell would I run a charity for you? Wait, what? Se-jun rested the spear, casually tapping it against the back of his shoulder. Are you saying that if I take your help, I've got to pay up big time? He glared right back, leveling the tip of his spear directly at Se-jun's razor-sharp eyes. Help me actually become the sect leader of the Flame Blossom sect. If you do that, I'll totally follow you straight into those 6 great demon realms. Suddenly, an old memory rushed back, perfectly mirroring the exact words Se-jun had said in his past life. Craft a sick weapon for me, and I'll wipe out the demon gods for you. A cocky grin crept across Se-jun's face, and right between his fingers, he flicked out another brand new darkstone. You sure you're not going to regret this? Fierce mana was practically exploding from the black stone right between his palms. Look, whether you like it or not, I'm dragging you up to that sect leader's throne. The red resonance black stone link mark was activated. Down in the first floor main training hall of Flavium, Kang Hyun rolled up looking all stiff and proper, with a whole squad of lackeys right behind him. It's been a minute, young master. I am Kang Hyun, a 7-circle instructor of the Fireflower sect. Se-jun eyed the 3 guys standing behind him. Who the heck are they? Kang Hyun gestured to the group. These are the disciples handpicked by the sect leader himself. He ordered me to broaden their horizons by having them watch a little sparring match. Between you and me, young master. The dude literally covered his mouth to hide a sneaky little laugh. After all, the young master is the most talented prodigy right behind the next sect leader. Se-jun wasn't having any of his nonsense and snapped right back. Listen up, Instructor Kang Hyun. His cold glare locked dead onto the guy. The next sect leader hasn't been officially chosen yet. You better watch your mouth. Kang Hyun didn't even flinch, still wearing that obvious, punchable smirk. Oh, my deepest apologies. Guess I just had a little slip of the tongue. Kang Hyun reached out, finally getting to the point. So, should we kick off your little ability test now? Se-jun flat out rejected him without missing a beat. Nah, skip that half-baked test. I want to take the promotion exam for the 7th circle. Kang Hyun shot him a look of pure disgust. A naive punk who does nothing but train actually thinks he can grab the sect leader's seat. He remembered the promise from his backer, and his ego inflated even more. If Se-jun tries to challenge the 7th circle, absolutely crush him. No matter what goes down, I'll step in and cover for you. Kang Hyun stood right across from him, dragging out his whole speech. From the 7th circle up, the exam literally requires you to fight an instructor head-on. You should really think about how this affects Grand Elder Yoongjin Hyun back at the main sect. You're just not ready for this yet, young master. Se-jun just stood his ground, not giving a single damn. You're running your mouth way too much. Se-jun casually took a massive swing at the guy's ego. What? Are you scared you're gonna lose your precious instructor badge? Hearing that, Kang Hyun lost his freaking mind and immediately yelled out, Bring me my spear, right now. This 7th circle promotion test will be a ring clash. He gripped his spear, slamming it upright. A ring clash is dead simple. It's a pure test of raw power. Whoever has the stronger flame ring takes the win. To pass, you gotta win, or at least force a tie. Se-jun's eyes sharpened as he gripped his twin short spears. The moment the shout dropped, All right, let's start. Kang Hyun got a look at his weapons, covered his mouth, and mockingly laughed. Using twin short spears? Seriously. So totally unrefined. Se-jun couldn't care less. With a killer glare, he swung his twin spears and dashed forward, blazing with fierce fire mana. Kang Hyun just stood there, clicking his tongue. Did you completely forget the sect leader's orders? You're supposed to lock down your dark attribute mana. That chaotic mess of a flame will never be recognized as a true flame ring. Se-jun just smirked as spinning rings of fire erupted all around him. Let's see the result when we actually go all out. Kang Hyun looked super cocky, casually spinning his spear behind his back. You're definitely gonna regret this. He finally got serious, dropping into his stance and whipping up his own rings of fire. The explosive flash of the fire attribute clashing with the darkness blinded everything. Suddenly, Kang Hyun-un's eyes almost popped out of his skull. The shadow of a massive black dragon ripped right through his flame rings, completely devouring them. What the heck is going on? My flame ring is getting swallowed alive. No, wait, it's being ripped to shreds. His dark, sunken eyes were still totally stunned when, just seconds later, the spear in his hands snapped into 3 pieces. Kang Hyun-un collapsed to his knees right in front of his shattered weapon. Lee Se-jun stood there holding his twin spears, looking down like an absolute boss at the broken man. You called this unrefined. Lee Se-jun, who had been chilling in the back watching the whole thing, sighed. What happens now? Man, what a total waste of top-tier materials. Se-jun casually chatted with him, still holding his twin spears. Once the promotion ceremony wraps up soon, I'll officially be recognized as an instructor of the Fire Flower sect and the legit successor. Lee Se-jun tilted his head down, super curious. How exactly are you going to take the sect leader spot? Se-jun glanced over at him. I just gotta hit 2 conditions. Number 1, I need to hit the 8th circle. And number 2, I need the majority vote from the other instructors. Lee Se-jun crouched down near the ground, picking up the broken chunks of the spear. Even if you do hit the 8th circle, you really think you can make them agree? Se-jun didn't even hesitate. I can just beat their votes out of them in a duel, so that's not going to be an issue. But it won't just be a ring clash then, so it definitely won't be as easy as today. Hearing that, Lee Se-jun stood up and shoved his hands deep into his pockets. Well, guess it won't take that long anyway. Se-jun stood there, his grip tightening hard around his spear. You make it sound like a walk in the park. Lee Se-jun just casually replied. I'm just saying that because it's totally doable. Just look at today's results. He caught Se-jun staring. The heck are you looking at? Se-jun gave him this crazy, sly look. From now on, you better start thinking about how you're going to pay for all this. Se-jun closed his eyes, acting all cool, a smirk creeping up his face like it was nothing. Just name your price to clear the tab. Whether it's straight cash or rare materials, I'll get you whatever you want within my power. His voice dropped, getting dead serious. Plus, I've got another custom order I need you to craft. Lee Se-jun shot him a surprised side eye. Another new order already? Suddenly, Se-jun tightened his grip on the weapon in his hands. The quality on these isn't half bad, but I literally just borrowed one to turn in for class. A wicked, calculating smirk spread across his face. If he can casually crank out something like this in just a few short hours, I'm dying to see how insane the next spear he forges is gonna be. Se-jun playfully punched Lee Se-jun hard on the shoulder. Make me a weapon that's even smoother to handle. Lee Se-jun slouched as he walked right beside him. Bro, put the freaking spear down. You almost just stabbed me. Se-jun blinked. Wait, what did you just say? The link index with target Se-jun has leveled up to 2. As the bond level goes up, the connection between both parties gets tighter. The current relationship with target Se-jun is transaction. Every time a transaction with the target is wrapped up, a link stone is generated. The crystallization speed of the link stone will get a massive boost when. So right in the middle of trading, we literally run out of stones. Boom, scene cuts to this packed auction house and a spotlight is glaring right on the main stage. The host is totally hyped up, throwing his arms around like crazy. Thanks for waiting, guys. The totally legit sophomore cultivation department auction is officially kicking off. Se-jun is just chilling in the audience. Like, who even knew this many people actually showed up to these things? Erica's sitting next to him and totally checks out his outfit. Wait, did you switch up your aesthetic? Se-jun just crosses his arms and hits her with that deadpan stare. Professor Kim In-on kept nagging me about how looks matter, he thinks to himself, trying to play it cool. Guess being the absolute top dog of the major really hits different, huh? Then Professor Kim In-on casually walks into the spotlight, looking cool as ice. It's pretty much impossible to mess with someone when all eyes are literally glued to them. Louis Valen Se-jun leans back with his arms crossed, flashing this super sketchy smirk as he watches. I'm low-key dying to see how Michael Baumut plans to hijack the refining department. So today's vibe is all about iron swords. They've got 36 of them lined up. And get this, they're throwing in a totally hardcore special quality check. On cue, they drag out this giant white sheet onto the stage. It's called Geump, literally woven from the melted fur of an S-rank beast, the freaking white tiger. It looks super soft, but it's tough as nails and totally immune to slashes. Some serious-looking dude walks up and totally hacks at the fabric with something sharp. Because of how crazy tough the fabric is, a massive bang just rips through the whole room. The host points right at the insane flex that just happened on stage. As you guys can see, it's super easy to spot weapons that sacrifice their durability just to boost their damage. We're using the Geump today to trash all the defective ones out. They grab the very first sword to test out. Up first, we've got the Azure Horn, made by student Joseph. The crowd immediately starts buzzing. Yo, that looks kinda sick. They seriously went all out setting this up. Erica side-eyes Se-jun. Dude, do you have any clue why they're doing this? Se-jun goes straight into nerd mode. Think about a white tiger with blue eyes. Most normies just think white tigers are super tanky, but their powers are way more complex. Their fur, skin, and bones all have crazy different properties. Like, the fur literally copies the exact sharpness of whatever metal weapon hits it. It's wild. So even if your weapon is top tier, the fur just chews through its durability. Erica rests her chin on her hand, actually looking serious for a sec. Wait, then isn't your white light longsword completely screwed here? Cause swords that are all about being razor sharp are usually super fragile. Se-jun just rests his chin on his hand, looking like he's about to watch a train wreck and loving it. Bingo. This whole thing is literally a massive, glaring trap set up just to screw me and Professor Kim in on over. But if your sword shatters right now, you're advising Professor's rep goes straight down the drain too. Se-jun just scoffs. Yeah, but that would only happen if I did a trash job forging it. Back on stage, the host slams the gavel down hard. Sword number 25 sold for $4 million. Then, they drag out the very last sword, and the host starts his spiel. And finally, sword number 36, forged by the absolute top-ranked freshman of the refining department, Louis Valen Se-jun. Let's kick off the quality test for the white light longsword. The second the super sharp blade slams into that white fabric, boom, this massive shockwave just explodes out of nowhere. The tester dude grips the hilt for dear life, but the sword literally rips itself right out of his hands. Michael Baumut watches it happen and straight up freezes, his face turning pale as a ghost. The white light longsword is still insanely sharp, and only a tiny piece of the tip actually broke off. Like, what the heck just happened? Yeah, exactly.